first things first. So, a few days ago, we had a Minister of Police. Then we found the Minister of Police being given a leave of absence. We now have an acting Minister of Police, although he effectively takes charge on the 1st of August thereabouts. Right? Let's talk to him. He's the Professor Feroz Kachalia. Many people are aware of his record, former anti-apartheid activist. Also played a role, by the way, around safety and security as an MMC in an MEC in the Gauteng region too, right? But currently, in the last few days, as a professor at the Wits School of Law, and significantly serves as the chairperson of the National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. So, Feroz, good to connect with you firstly on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Thank you. I mean, of course, I've known you ever since I was a young boy, but soon to be, I would have to call you Minister of Police or something like that. We'll have to get comfortable with that. So appreciate you joining us here on the show. First things first. I mean, Sunday afternoon, you got a call, and I was assuming whether you'd be watching the tennis with Wimbledon, and you get a more significant call. And of course, you've done lots of things in your life, but how has your life changed in the last few days?
Well, since I got the call and accepted the president's request, I've obviously been inundated with requests for interviews such as the one I'm doing now. I've been amazed actually I wasn't aware of the extent of the development of the media in the country, radio stations across the country, so many different radio stations that I was completely unaware of. So that's been a little bit of a learning curve. Yeah, so I've been kept busy, I think, over the last 2 days.
Yeah. Let's confirm this. I mean, I saw a piece in the Sowetan newspaper where you were quoted as saying you received the call 1 hour before the president made his announcement. I mean, is that correct, as late as that?
Yes. Well, what evidently happened was this, and I did explain that to the Sowetan as well, is that I was relaxing at home. It was a Sunday. I wasn't expecting to deal with any work, certainly not my phone, which I tend to avoid like the plague. So my phone was in my loft study area, charging, and it's got quite a low ringtone. So it was upstairs. Once or twice I thought I heard it kind of ringing, but I ignored the phone. I thought I'm not going to answer any calls today. I'm looking forward to watching a lot of sport on television, the soccer and the cricket, some rugby that I was interested in, and so forth. So that was my plan, and then they got hold of my brother Azar, Justice Kachalia. They got hold of him, and he was also calling, but of course, I didn't know it was him. Okay. Phone was upstairs, and then eventually they got hold of my wife, and Nazira was sitting next to me on the couch watching the tennis with me.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So that's what happened, and then I was told that the president's going to call in the next 10 minutes or so, and then he did call.
So at that point when you were told the president's going to call, and since your brother tried to call you and others, I mean, you clearly had a sense there was something very, very urgent, right? But did you get a sense that it was going to be about the appointment of you as effectively the Minister of Police?
No, I didn't think so. I'm not a sitting member of Parliament, and normally these appointments are made from the members of Parliament, or certainly in a portfolio that's occupied by the ANC. There would have been, it's usually people who are in the NEC. I mean, I did serve in the NEC about a year ago or so, but that's usually what happens.
Okay, so you got the call, and the request was what?
Well, I was I mean, so he then told me that in fact, I think his first words were that he's going to get straight to the point or something of that kind. And he said to me that he's appointing me in this position. I didn't hesitate. I mean, it wasn't, my wife was right next to me. Of course, it has major kind of implications for me, my family life, and so forth. I was in fact looking forward to a period of rest after my retirement at Wits University, and then thinking about what I might do, going forward. But this is not a request that I felt I could refuse.
So you accepted immediately?
Yes,
yeah?
immediately.
Okay.
Yes.
So why did you accept? I mean, you did say you couldn't refuse, but why could you not refuse?
Well, I mean, I don't know how this sounds really, but it's a call of duty. I mean, this is part. It's been my life really, the struggle for freedom in this country, and then the struggle actually to establish strong institutions and accountable government that can serve our people. That has been the driving impetus of my whole life, I think, and so there wasn't even a question from my point of view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, getting then to the issues at hand. So you're right. You could have gone into splendid retirement in the next couple of weeks. That's not going to be the case any longer. But you're taking over a portfolio, acting, but who knows how long you'll be acting for. So we have to take it as as if it's a permanent acting position. And since you mentioned sporting examples, you're taking over the position of a club where the coach has effectively been sacked. I mean, that's my words. I know, don't take it literally, but you've got a situation now. The coach has been sacked, and the club is in disarray. It's like the most difficult time to take the helm. How do you see it?
Yes, I mean, I think that the set of events precipitated by General Nkwanazi's decision, a very unusual one, and generally not the correct way to approach such matters, because there is a structure of command within the police service, and there are good reasons why that structure should be followed. And there's a relationship between the police service and the minister. But, we will have to see once the Judicial Commission of Inquiry reports in 3 months' time whether he is vindicated in retrospect, if he felt that he needed to take such unusual steps, go public, if you like, because of the nature of the allegations he has made. And of course, what the country now needs is for those allegations, which is all they are at this point, for the facts to be established, on the basis of which proper action can be taken.
So, I mean, so certainly you're coming to that terrain, which is a very difficult terrain, as you know now. Shadrack Sibiya also now being asked to take a leave of absence. So that's the terrain that you join. You have to take it, whether it takes 3 months or 1 year, and knowing your own track record, you have to take it like this is the call of duty, as you've said, and you need to get on with it. What for you would be like your single biggest priority come August?
So let me think about how to respond to your observations and your question. I mean, first of all, let me say something about this idea of an acting appointment and my attitude towards that. The president has the constitutional authority to appoint all ministers and to decide on the duration of that appointment. In other words, he can reshuffle his cabinet, he can remove a minister at any point without giving anyone a reason. It's a reason of state, if you like. Now, all ministers are in that position. From my point of view, he has appointed me as Minister of Safety and Security. So I have to approach this responsibility without a time frame. I have to look at what needs to be done, decide on what the priority should be in consultation with police management. So I'm going to be engaging, first of all, with the National Commissioner. And to plan on the basis that a job has to be done, and you know, to once you've determined your priorities, to decide on the steps that have to be taken, and what the sequence would be. And I would approach that task in that way, whether or not my appointment was described as permanent or
I think
acting.
that's understandable.
Which is a little bit of a misnomer.
What do you make? Yeah, what do you make of the president? Effectively instituting this commission of inquiry, which has caused such an uproar from so many people. As again an indecisive president, he could have done better. What do you make of
that? Look, let me just say that this would be my view in any event. Mm-hmm. Okay. First of all, I understand the public outrage, which I think has been accumulating and developing over time, because the feeling is that corruption and insecurity have been growing, but that there's been a lack of accountability over time. And that is finding expression in the way the public is responding to General Mkhwanazi's public statements, as well as the president's decision to appoint a judicial commission of inquiry. Now, let me ask this question. The allegations that have been made by General Mkhwanazi are just that, right? The allegations. Mm-hmm. The facts have not been established. Most people, well, I would assume most people listening to this interview, but most people across the country are in no position to assess the substance, whether there is substance to the allegations that have been made, even though they will have good reason to worry that they are probably true.
All right, let's pick up on that in a moment.
Are you looking for the best savings on spectacles? At Specsavers, enjoy 1,500 Rand off when you get tested at South Africa's trusted and most established optical group. Get 1,500 Rand off all frames in store, or use your 1,500 Rand off on our leading lens enhancements, such as drive light lenses that reduce artificial glare whilst driving. Book online or call your nearest store today. Affordable eye care, Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
It all starts with FNB Private. With secure, easy payments for a hassle-free overseas holiday. Tap, swipe, or go digital with your FNB Visa cards. Earn rewards when using your FNB credit card or global account debit and virtual card. You can even fund your global account on the FNB app while traveling. Make the most of every moment. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. TCs earn rules and limits apply.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, this is the National Pulse, and the Pulse is clearly racing on a day where we know that Shadrack Sibiya now being asked to take a leave of absence. We talk now to Professor Feroz Kachhaliya, in fact soon to be titled Minister of Police, or Acting Minister of Police. He takes up that position in August. So you were talking just before the break, and you were giving that point that, yes, at the moment there are allegations, right? You may continue with that, Feroz.
So it would be entirely improper for the president in any such circumstances to act on the basis of these allegations by assuming that they've been well established. That, in my view, would be an abuse of power. And we certainly do not want anyone in public office to behave even in an arbitrary and capricious manner. Now, what is decided to do in the light of the fact that these are serious allegations, cannot be ignored, should not be ignored, but that have not been established as matters of fact, he has said to the to the previous minister, I'm not making any findings against you, but in the light of the serious allegations that have been made in the public domain, the public expects action, and therefore I'm going to put you on special leave. Park, whether you know that is a concept that makes sense or not, but I think that the caution that is expressed in that decision is appropriate. Number one. So you can't ignore the fact that these serious allegations have been made, but two, he can't assume their veracity. The second, he's appointed a commission of inquiry of short duration of 3 months to ascertain the facts. Now, what is a commission of inquiry? 3 judges who are experienced fact finders, people who every day go into courts of law and have to make findings of fact and law. So that's why in this country we have a tradition in similar circumstances such as these of appointing a judicial commission of inquiry, because judges are meant to be objective. They belong to that arm of government that is independent, and they are experienced fact finders. And therefore, so the reasoning would go, the outcomes and findings of such a process can be trusted. An alternative approach might have been to suggest that the process of finding facts should be exclusively left in the hands of a political process. Now, there is going to be an inquiry process in Parliament. I think that's an important step. It's to be welcomed. But our Parliament certainly is not an experienced fact finder. That process is likely to be influenced by the political considerations of the parties involved in the process. Okay? So those who are criticizing this process have to think a little bit more carefully.
Okay.
If they recognize, hang on just 1 second, Ashra, if they recognize that a process of fact-finding, reliable fact-finding was necessary, then they have to explain what alternative the president had. What other fact-finding process were they advocating, unless they are suggesting that the president should have acted without facts. Yeah? Now, the second thing I would say is that I personally think that this fact-finding process is going to be of enormous assistance to me as the new minister, because it covers matters that I would have otherwise had to delve in myself. And for a minister to establish these facts by going into a ministry, would have been, you can't start a fact-finding process when you're trying to establish a relationship with senior management and so forth. So I think he's done the right thing. I understand why there is public concern about this, because they believe it might be a waste of time, and that they think often these commissions of inquiry are used.
But what do you feel about it? Not
road.
so much this one, but I mean, there's been such a history of, fact-finding missions, commissions of inquiry, and I'm not saying so. Public are saying that its hit rate or strike rate has been very, very poor, and therefore the level of discomfort with just buying into it.
Well, let me say something perhaps of the one that I'm most familiar with, which is the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, because the council that I've been chairing had the responsibility, among others, to advise, to monitor the implementation of the recommendations of the Zondo Commission. The Zondo Commission's recommendations are divided into 2 categories. One set of recommendations concerned institutional transformation, setting up new regulatory bodies. So that is it takes time. It involves budgets. There needs to be an engagement with departments. that within whose responsibility setting up institutions like a new body, for instance, which is one of the recommendations that Justice Zondo Commission made, particularly in the area of procurement. And the council that I was chairing, the National Anti-Corruption Council, took his recommendations into account at the request of the president. So the recommendations we've made, which have not yet been finalized in the cabinet, but is on its way there, we were instructed by the president to take Justice Zondo's Commission's recommendations on the whole area of institutional transformation into account. Now, those people who are saying that it's taking a long time and that the recommendations are not receiving consideration, I can understand the frustration, but it's also important for the public to understand when we are setting up new structures of government, which need new staff, which need budgets and so forth, the new legislation, that does take time.
All right.
Okay. The second, let me just make it clear. The second is that the Justice Zondo referred some cases for further investigation and prosecution to the NPA. When he referred those matters, he was not able to come to the conclusion that he had evidence that these people need to be prosecuted. What he had evidence of was the kind of evidence that required further investigation. And that also takes time, but I think that the public are justifiably concerned that the investigative bodies and the prosecutorial authorities have taken too much time. They've had some wins and some losses. And I think that the public is also worried that some of the people who are identified are powerful politicians and they may still be in a position to interfere with the process. Now, I can say that is not acceptable, and certainly on my watch, that it's the NPAs in the Department of Justice, but it's supposed to be independent. And I think working together with the minister in that department, as well as the presidency, our job is to ensure that the NPA has the independence, resources, and the skills it needs to prosecute such cases effectively.
Okay, thanks for clearing that up. Just the last thing as we get to news time. Let's say we chat in a year's time. If there's one thing that galls most South Africans, it's the issue of safety and security, right? We just scared out of our lives every single day, right? So 1 year from now, if you have to measure your success in the ministry, how would you measure it?
Just to remind you, when I was in the MEC for Safety and Security, I was quoted as saying that I'm going to solve the crime problem in 6 months. And of course, I didn't say that, but that's how it was reported. And then I spent the next 6 months explaining that I didn't say that. So I'm not going to make the same mistake again. It's going to be a tall order. It's going to take time. But the country has a right to expect accountability from me. And I fully intend to fulfill the instructions I've been given by the president and to fulfill my obligations to the people of this country.
Well, let's leave it at that. Much appreciate your time in this conversation, Firoz Kachaliya, soon to be Minister of Police, Firoz Kachaliya. Thank you for your time here on the National Pulse. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Deputy Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya has been asked to take leave of absence. This follows allegations by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi accusing him of interfering with police operations and colluding with criminal elements. Some members of parliament have called for more transparency when it comes to the State Security Agency. Members took part in the budget vote debate of the entity, which falls under the minister and the presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshavheni, and Israel's military is attacking what it says are Hezbollah sites in eastern Lebanon. Israel's defense minister says the strikes send a clear message to Hezbollah not to rebuild its capabilities after last November's ceasefire agreement. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Midrand has a stationary vehicle reported after Olifantsfontein Road. The M2 westbound in Crown has delays towards Main Reef Road, and the N40 northbound in Pretoria has delays towards the R101 interchange. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Ashburton has a stationary truck after Market Road, the M4 northbound in Ashburton slow moving through Mhlanga, and the N2 southbound in Amanzimtoti has a crash reported near Adams Road. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound slow moving towards Okavango Road, the N7 northbound is slow moving towards Plattekloof Road, and the R101 to Toitskloof Pass in Paarl has queuing traffic reported on the pass. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Stay safe on the roads. SAFM is with you. This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Right, let's talk sport. Zai, what do you have today?
A very good afternoon to you. Yes, Banyana coach Desiree Ellis impressed with the team's quality display in their final group match, and that was against Mali. This was after the South Africans secured a dominant 4-0 win at the Honier Stadium. South Africa getting off to a flying start when the player of the match, Lebogang Ramalepe, scored the first goal. And what a moment, and that was in just 5 minutes. An incredible round of action for the team, and it shows their intention about rectifying all their mistakes. Well, from that wonderful news, we head to more soccer, and this time we'll look at the likes of Desiree Ellis, adding that her players have done some exceptional things and they are ready for the knockout stage. In the meantime, SABC Sport understands that 2 more Orlando Pirates players are set to join Monapule Saleng at Orbit College. The public broadcaster has been informed that talks are at an advanced stage for the newly promoted side to add defender Yanga Madiba and midfielder Tuso Molileke to the Betway Premiership roster for the 2025-26 season. Orbit have conducted a deal with the Soweto Giants for the out-of-favour winger Monapule Saleng, offering him a fresh start following what has been a year dominated by a veil of secrecy regarding his future at the club. And the Mamelodi Sundowns Brazilian striker Lucas Ribeiro and Orlando Pirates talented young attacker Relebohile Mofokeng were the prominent names put forward as the nominees for the 2024-25 PSL Awards that were announced today. The Premier Soccer League announcing the nominees on its social media platforms, also revealing the award ceremony taking place on the 29th of July. Ribeiro and Mofokeng were nominated for PSL Footballer of the Season, and it would seem to be leading the candidates for the most prestigious category. On to golf, and John Rahm says he's feeling confident ahead of his bid to end Spain's 37-year wait for a British Open title when the 153rd edition gets underway at Royal Portrush this week. The 2-time major champion is hoping to become only the second Spaniard to lift the claret jug after the 3 times winner Seve Ballesteros. Now, Rahm has posted top 10 finishes at both the US Open as well as the PGA Championship this year, and arrives in Northern Ireland after coming second to Taylor Gooch at the Live Golf event in Valderrama. And finally, wheelchair tennis star Alwanda Sikosana says he's looking forward to representing South Africa for the first time at the upcoming Flanders Open in Belgium. Sikosana will depart this afternoon to resume with his European tour, which will cover the Flanders 25, followed by the Belgium Open and the Ultimate Austrian Open. Now, of course, he's looking forward to displaying his best performance on the global stage and flying the South African flag high. That's a wrap of your sport. That's right, on the National Pulse, we'll bring you more top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Absolutely, more of that in an hour, and then in an hour's time as well, right? Thank you, Zai.
You are listening to SAFM Radio this Mandela Month.
It is in your hands now.
Right, lots to consider. By the way, of course, sometimes we take calls from you at about 25 past 3. Couldn't do it today for reasons that are pretty obvious, but I'm sure you have lots to comment on regarding the conversation I had with now soon to be the Minister of Police, the Professor Firoz Kachalia. In the meantime, I think you do well to just make a note of this. Play for the win. The Powerball jackpot estimated at 71 million rands this Tuesday. I'm not one who plays, but if you're up for it, 6 lucky numbers is all it takes for your chance to make your dreams become a reality. Don't get left behind. Buy your tickets now in store on the nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial star 120 star 7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Utuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, let's talk. In fact, what we're going to do, we're going to chat to Dr. Johan Burger shortly, and that's regarding the developing story about Shadrack Sibiya being asked to take a leave of absence. In the meantime, we should be getting an up-to-date report in terms of the plans now regarding the passing of the Nigerian leader, Muhammadu Buhari, but we'll connect just in a moment. In the meantime, what I can do is you can connect too. So to call in, 086 000 2032, and if you're a first-time caller, let me welcome you to the show. So tell me, then WhatsApp 0614 104 107, text or voice notes, and you can tweet as well. Raisa in the Northwest region, go for it. Hello.
Hi, Ashraf, how are you?
I'm very good indeed. Right, what's your point?
No, that's right, and Kakunana. It was quite interesting listening to you with your chat and Firoz Kachalia.
Yeah.
While listening to you, I could just hear another ANC fat cat salivating to go and get more fat onto his plate on cadre deployment.
Why? What is it about listening to him that tells you that?
I've listened to this chap, and in fact, I know all the rotten potatoes in the ANC who are going by nook or crook or anything under the sun to cover for one another.
Okay, so you're not.
You want to tell me out of the 6 billion people or 62 million people in this country, with all outside the ANC, is there nobody who was going to be given that position?
Yeah, but I mean, let's understand. I mean, this is the prerogative of the president, isn't it? That's normal. He's going to do. That's why he's the president. You and I effectively voted for him, whether we did it directly or indirectly. We did. Yeah.
Fine, I understand. It's the prerogative of the chief thief.
Okay, Raisa, I got it. You made your points. Raisa saying another fat cat, as per many of the others within the ANC, referring to Professor Firoz Kachalia, soon to be officially the minister, or the acting minister of police. Right, what we'll do, let's talk about the developments in Nigeria right after this.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
So in the midst of South Africa's own issues around the Minister of Police and the allegations and the changes that have taken place, to a large degree, it's sort of missed or passed us by to a degree. The passing of Muhammadu Buhari at the age of 82. I think what many people do remember is that he, like many others, passed away at a clinic in London. And someone said, hashtag, what does that mean? But leaving that aside, it's a time to talk about who he is and his legacy, how much praise, how much criticism, because many of the leaders do have this mixed legacy. To help us through understanding all of that is Professor Agusa Osagai, the Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs. Prof. Osagai, I appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So, firstly, in terms of Muhammadu Buhari, I mean, he passed away in England, we know that. I take it he's going to be buried in Nigeria. Is it happening today? Have I got that right?
Yes, you got it right.
Okay, so it's,
he's going to be buried today. Yes.
All right. A time to then reflect on, the pluses and the minuses of his legacy. And I say legacy because he served as the leader of the country not once but more than once, right? So that's quite unique compared to many others too.
Yes, you're right. General Muhammadu Buhari is very clearly one of the great icons of post-independence Nigeria, and he has contributed immensely to shaping the contours of the country and bringing it to the parts of greatness where Nigeria has always featured across the years. The country is in mourning, very deep mourning, for a leader who, as you say, of course, would have a mixed bag, but there are more positives than negatives. You have said it. He's been very privileged to lead the country twice in his lifetime. First as a military head of state, and second as somebody who got democratically elected. Now, it is the democratic election that I think is more remarkable. Because General Buhari was a man of very strong convictions. He was very passionate, very nationalistic, and had a sense of mission, historic mission for the country. And therefore, he ran for the presidential election several times, until one time he gave up and said, you know what, if the country doesn't want me, then I won't run again. And he was persuaded to come out because he had done something close to the magical as a military head of state. So people remembered him with nostalgia. And the country was in some kind of dire straits, difficult times, and so on. So many people thought we needed a leader like Buhari, given what he had demonstrated in his first coming. So he came on board. He himself was the first to admit that times had changed. Things were no longer the same. This was not the same country that, he was head of state of in 1984. This is 2015. And the country, had, grown tremendously, both for bad and for good and for ugly. And he tried to have these multi-track responses to all of them. So on the whole, I think that, he was and remains one of Nigeria's greatest leaders of integrity, whose word was his bond. And he, was such a marvelous leader. But as you know, in Africa, goodness, frankness, all of these things are good personal qualities, but they don't make, excellent leadership. We need to have guardrails and strong institutions that will make those kinds of leaders even better leaders.
Interesting you use the word integrity, I think maybe more than once. Now this, again, in a continent, but not just exclusively African, where there are so many leaders and one questions their integrity, particularly around how they've used their leadership as a personal, fiefdom for themselves and their families. Why are you so clear about him being this leader of integrity? Tell me more.
Well, first, it's his life, pattern. He has the reputation of being very Spartan, of being very altruistic, of being very dependable, but most of all of being very frank with everything that he did. All those who had direct dealings with him would come off telling you this was a man without any guile or any pretensions. He said it as he was convinced it was. And he meant well. I mean, this is a key thing. So it was easy to see through what he meant. But let me emphasize the one part about his integrity. That is, his hatred for corruption. I mean, when he was military head of state, began a movement in Nigeria called the War Against Indiscipline. And indiscipline had, tentacles in all of those directions, including corruption. Now, so in 2015, when he returned, he made the fight against corruption one of the pillars of his administration. He had like a 5 or 6 or 7 point agenda. Anti-corruption was very key there. And I think in acknowledgement of that, the African Union had made him an anti-corruption ambassador. That is what every Nigerian remembers him for. So he was, a person who you could trust, where social trust is in very short supply, all over the world. If you had a leader you could trust, then of course he could command loyalty and followership. Buhari had a lot of that in abundance. And, I think that you have said it, in the world today where we have people who privatize power and, who have those images that are larger than the countries and the governments they lead, I think Buhari was very exemplary.
Mm-hmm. I think for many people listening, and they will always look at it and say, ultimately, and some of the points you made are admirable, but ultimately they would say, what has that leader done for that country? How has he changed the lives of the people of Nigeria? So he's had 2 stints at leadership, and as you also made the point, he's had quite a few losing an election, which is also unprecedented, right? But making the comparison then, ultimately, to what degree did he change the lives of the people of Nigeria for the better?
Very good question. Now, that's always a difficult task for every leader. I mean, several years ago, decades ago, you could plan. If you were centrally planned, you could do many things and hope that the results would be predictable. But today, things have changed very dramatically. At the nation-state level, at the global level, there's so much turbulence and so much uncertainty and so much unpredictability. Now, so leaders who are able to navigate through all of these things and still keep their systems stable would be leaders that are great. Now, in the case of Nigeria, at the time Buhari came in, the country had very unprecedented levels of insecurity. It was a time we had, terrorism in different parts of the country. We had violent extremism to contend with. We had, violent crimes, and all of those things were in abundant supply. So very difficult mix. It was also a time of economic recession, when, the economy was in dire straits and so on. But he paddled through all of these things and, together with his cabinet, managed to find very useful responses and solutions to these very serious problems. So, for instance, in the area of the fight against insecurity, he had said that Boko Haram, which has become a world-renowned name, had been degraded, and several parts of Nigeria that had been lost to terrorists had been regained.
Pause on the Boko Haram thing, because many say that's one of his big failings, of an inability to stamp out the scourge of Boko Haram. We'll get to that in a moment.
Join us for this year's fundraiser, Jazz for Young People concert at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July. This unique event, perfect for families, is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. So bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring the Parktown Girls Band, Tshwane School of Music, The Real DJ Zandi, Kutlotaro Jazz Band, and many others. Tickets are just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12 via Quicket. Jazz for Young People is proudly brought to you by Standard Bank Joy of Jazz.
My name is Fikile Makama. I'm from Cape Town and I'm a defender. Between city life and village life, I will choose village life. I like being around people. I would like to say to my friends back home, they know where I come from. They've seen my struggles. So me being here is me representing them and my family. We are the champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connect.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
It all starts with FNB Private. Diversify your portfolio to grow your wealth. Gain global exposure through shares or unit trusts on the FNB app. Tap into international investments and tax-efficient offshore trusts to build your legacy. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSB and credit provider. FNB International Trustees, FNB IT registration number 3080. Licensed by the Guernsey Financial Services Commission to conduct fiduciary business. T's and C's apply.
Right, make a note of this. Play for the win with a Powerball jackpot estimated now at 71 million rands today, right? That's right, 6 lucky numbers in all is all it takes for your chance to make your dreams become a reality. Don't get left behind. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.coza, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Push-Up Play. Players must be 18 years old or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, let's conclude our conversation with Professor Egosa Osagai, Director General of the Nigerian Institute of International Affairs, reflecting on the passing now of the former Nigerian leader Muhammadu Buhari. So we paused at the time when you spoke about Boko Haram. Yes, many may say that that his inability to stamp out the scourge of Boko Haram was his big failing. Do you A, concur, and if so, why do you think he was unable to do so?
Well, the answer has to be yes and no. Everyone knows that, the warfare of the 21st century is no longer simply as asymmetrical as conventional wisdom always had it. In other words, when you're fighting terrorism, for instance, the experience everywhere in the world, the comparative experience shows that that's a marathon fight that you have. And, under Buhari, there were all kinds of weaknesses that the country had to contend with. One of them was, of course, the supply of weapons, military arsenal to respond to terrorism. That was not always forthcoming. Don't forget that Nigeria is not, a military hardware state. We still depend on, imports and external support and so on. It was a time when we didn't get support from our traditional partners and friends. You may even recall that before Buhari came in, we had gotten to the point of hiring mercenaries and going to buy arms directly in a private aircraft in South Africa. I'm sure you remember that episode.
Another conversation, I would think, yeah. All right. Shall we leave it at that? Unless you want to add something else just in conclusion, yeah?
Yes, go on.
No. Let's leave it at that. Thank you very much for your time, Professor Egosa Osagai, reflecting on the passing of Muhammadu Buhari and his legacy. And you may reflect on it yourself. So I welcome your calls as soon as we get the opportunity. But let's do this. Let's talk to Dr. Johan Burger next about another developing story in South Africa.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, you've heard about it as I started the show. Shadrack Sibiya has been asked to take leave of absence. This, of course, all sparked off by what happened like a week ago, right? So his position, Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, now being asked to take a leave of absence. Let's understand what's happened here and the implications thereof with Dr. Johan Burger, who's an independent crime and policing consultant. Dr. Burger, appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Yes, good afternoon.
Thank you. Does this come as a surprise to you? We know what happened on Sunday. Does this come as a surprise?
No, not at all. I think we all expected this to happen. We have had serious allegations involving both the minister and General Sibiya. So placing the minister on special leave would have sounded unfair if you did not do the same with General Sibiya. And of course, the advantage of doing this is that it allows for an investigation to continue without the risk of any of those officials in any way interfering with the investigation or with witnesses and so forth.
Which is interesting because that is one of the accusations or concerns people had to say, maybe putting people on special leave or not actually axing them allows them to interfere with any potential evidence. Does this suggest that, understand why the president effectively put the minister on special leave, because that's within his discretion, but perhaps now this could be the beginning of a few more people being asked to take leave of absence?
Yes, it's quite possible. You see, I think this is a developing situation. The General Mkonazi only mentioned two people, I think, by name, but he did say that there are a number of others, not just in the criminal justice system, which includes the police, but also members of parliament and so forth. So I expect, as this investigation continues, that more and more names will be identified. And then, the same process will have to be followed. If another senior officer is identified as a person of interest in terms of this investigation, then obviously you will have to follow precisely the same approach.
What do you think is therefore going to happen next?
Well, the interesting thing, there may be, there's a parliamentary process going to take place. 3 portfolio committees also going to conduct hearings on this issue, and we will have to see what they come up with and if there are any recommendations coming from them. And then, of course, the commission has to start at the beginning of August officially, and one of the terms of reference is that they have to consider prima facie evidence that already exists. So you don't have to wait for an investigation to be concluded or conducted. You can look at the existing prima facie evidence, and on the basis of that evidence, you can start prosecuting people. So that's a very, very important point, which means that the commission can make recommendations for criminal prosecutions quite soon after they started with their work.
All right, that's where we leave it. Appreciate your input, Dr. Johan Burger, who's an independent crime and policing consultant, reflecting on that breaking story, that developing story, in this case here, Shadrack Sibiya being asked to take leave of absence. More on the news. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news top stories, Shadrack Sibiya requested to take leave of absence, and Israel's military launches attacks into eastern Lebanon. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemula has confirmed that Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detention, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya, has been placed on leave. This is pending investigations into claims by KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Sibiya is alleged to have links to criminal syndicates that have infiltrated the SAPS, including controversial tenderpreneur Vusumuzi Cat Matlala. General Fani Masemula spoke to the media in Durban this afternoon.
But when I asked him to stay home, while at the same time I'm doing internal investigation. The internal investigation will determine as to what next course of action will be taken. I can't preempt. Probably the investigation can say, no, there's nothing, come back, and then...
Some members of parliament have called for more transparency when it comes to the State Security Agency. Members took part in the budget vote debate of the entity, which falls under the Minister in the Presidency, Khumbudzo Ntshabeni. The debate takes place as national security is in the spotlight, following allegations by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, which among others implicated Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. In response to this, President Cyril Ramaphosa has announced a judicial commission of inquiry to probe corruption allegations in the police and placed Mchunu on special leave. The DAs Diane Carla-Barnett and Musa's Nobuntu Hlazo-Webster want more insight to be given to members of the Joint Committee on Intelligence.
The very integrity of our entire criminal justice system is on trial as we speak. After all that bluster, a minister at home, another ministerial salary being paid, many fingers are crossed that this will all blow over.
So this budget has got to do more than approve figures. It must embed transparency and accountability. And so we call on Treasury to publish a clear breakdown of SSA allocations on a confidential basis to the JSCI as well as to the Auditor General.
The Mpumalanga Culture, Sport and Recreation Head of Department Godfrey Ntombela has been dismissed. This was announced by Premier Mandla Ndlovu during his cabinet reshuffle media briefing. Ntombela was placed on suspension in May. Among other things, Ndlovu has accused Ntombela of fraudulently using former Premier Refilwe Mtsweni-Tsipane's signature to extend his employment contract.
This claim has been vehemently refuted by former Premier Mtsweni-Tsipane. She states that she never extended Mr. Ntombela's employment of contract beyond September 2024. It has also come to my attention that a fraudulent activity has been committed where former Premier's electronic signature was used. in the purported extension. There is an alleged payment of 80,000 that was exchanged for the misuse of the former Premier's electronic signature.
Meanwhile, Premier Ndlovu also announced changes in his cabinet. MEC for Education Kathy Dlamini has been removed from her position a few months after the 2 million laptop procurement corruption scandal.
Ms. Lindy Leitimasina has been appointed as the new MEC for Department of Education. Ms. Chester Seidel, the new MEC for the Department of Economic Development and Tourism. Ms. Ketiwe Muyeketi is the new MEC for Agriculture, Rural Development and Environmental Affairs. Ms. Nompumelelo Hlope, the new MEC for Social Development.
A female passenger was injured in Pontiavel when the Golden Arrow bus she was in was stoned by assailants this morning. Golden Arrow spokesperson Bronwyn Dagbeya says the victim obtained facial injuries and was taken to a nearby hospital for treatment. Dagbeya says it was an isolated incident and no arrests have been made yet. Israel's military is attacking what it says are Hezbollah sites in eastern Lebanon. Israel's Defense Minister Israel Katz says the strikes send a clear message to Hezbollah not to rebuild its capabilities after last November's ceasefire agreement. The BBC's Yolanda Nell has the details.
Israeli fighter jets have been hitting sites in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley. Israel says they're used by Hezbollah's elite Radwan unit to store weapons and train its operatives to carry out attacks. The Defense Minister Israel Katz said Israel would respond with maximum force to any renewed threat from Hezbollah, and that its strikes sent a message to the armed group and the Lebanese government, which is also responsible for upholding last November's ceasefire deal. This is the latest attack by Israel deep inside Lebanon since the ceasefire sought to end a year of fighting with Hezbollah.
Recapping the top story, National Police Commissioner General Fani Masamula has confirmed that Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya has been placed on leave. I am Mondela Mbana for SAFM News Headlines at 4:30.
And it's a very good afternoon to you. Welcome to your SFM Sport. And there's plenty of action to look forward to this time. A big surprise when it comes to the Springbok coach Rassie Erasmus. He's rung the changes ahead of Saturday's one-off test against Georgia in Mbombela. And we're still celebrating the sweet success of Banyana in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations with coach Desiree Ellis. Details around 4:30.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Pretoria is a crash reported near Rigel Avenue. The N3 northbound in Bedfordview, slow moving on the link to the N12 east at Kilolise interchange. And the N1 southbound in Midrand has a stationary vehicle reported after Olifantsfontein Road. In KZN, the N3 eastbound in Ashburton, a stationary truck after Market Road, and the N2 northbound in Amanzimtoti queuing towards Joyner Road due to roadworks. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend, the M5 southbound is slow moving towards Milner Road, and Old Paul Road eastbound in Brackenfell. That's closed at the R300 highway due to a police incident. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 104.6 FM in Kimberley. Kathy Motlatlana on SAFM.
So why I'm asking the question in this way, Mr. Ngumalo, is because I want to know, did you conduct this raid before or after the briefing that was held by General Mkhwanazi on Sunday?
I cannot be specific in terms of time, but what we can state is that these are the two raids.
But why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because this is a raid that has already happened. I'm not asking you to give us details of raids that you're still going to conduct. Singabako Ngumalo.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen, and nothing is off the agenda.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so we've had people asking about the conversation I had with now soon-to-be Minister of Police, Feroz Kachalia, and the podcast. Of course, that'll be up. I'll check with Vusani. It should be up pretty soon, right? We normally do that very, very quickly. So listen to that podcast. It'll be tweeted out, and also go to the website, safm.co.za. And that's not all regarding that issue, because after 5 o'clock, we'll be chatting to the Reverend Dr. Alan Busak, who's the chairperson of the Walter and Albertina Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice. And their position is that the foundation has accused Ramaphosa of delaying real accountability in South Africa's corruption crisis. So that's another story that I think we need to hear, right? In the meantime, as if that's not enough, and really, there are days and moments where we have to dwell on the biggest issues that moves the national pulse, right? Let's talk about the march. There's been marches. Yesterday, we chatted to the MK party representatives for their march, effectively in support of Mkhwanazi. They'll do the same on Friday as well. So now a march using the hashtag #HandsOffMkhwanazi took place in Durban earlier today, calling for government accountability and action in response to the allegations made by the KZN Police Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Let's find out more about it with Teresa Norkier, one of the organizers of the #HandsOffMkhwanazi march. Teresa, appreciate you connecting with me on the National Pulse.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. What's the goal of this march? I mean, I get what the Lieutenant General said, but I mean, beyond what the President has done already, what's the goal of the march?
You see, beyond in what the President said, it doesn't make sense to us, because this is serious allegations that was made, and it was made publicly, right? So we, as a March and March movement, which is a non-political movement, actually went and we formed part of this march, where we said hands off on Mkhwanazi, because that man is a soldier. He would not have made these allegations if he did not have the proof to say that this is what is happening. So we then decided that we are going to do this march due to the fact that the President of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, we are not happy with the ruling that he made. Point number one, putting Minister Mchunu on paid leave, basically, if you can put it like that. Mm-hmm. So according to us, he should have been fired immediately on the spot, because this is serious allegations, and it forms part of the corruption of South Africa. And we are fighting against corruption, but it seems like there's no end. We keep on fighting, and nothing happens. And that is why we then decided that we're going to take the streets and we are going to fight for Mkhwanazi.
But you say nothing happens. I mean, in fact, that even the Minister of Police has been put on special leave, that suggests something has happened, something is happening.
Yeah, something is happening. He's been put on special leave. He still gets all the perks. Everything should have been taken away from him in an instant, because that is the way it should actually have happened. If it was anyone else, it would have happened like that.
But he hasn't been convicted in court. He hasn't been found guilty.
He hasn't been convicted in court as yet. But surely, why would you put him on special leave and still he gets the perks? And then you say that the investigation can take between 3 months and 6 months. Come on, that is ridiculous. That is really ridiculous. The justice system in our country is absolutely horrific.
But I mean, I'm trying to understand it. I mean, you may be aware. I had a chat with the incoming acting Minister of Police, Feroz Kachalia, earlier on. That there are issues even in terms of commissions of inquiry and the judiciary, and there are checks and balances. Yes, the President can fire anybody because that's his discretion. Beyond firing somebody, he can do nothing else. He doesn't have the power to do anything else. He can establish commissions. He can encourage investigations, but he can't, by decree, judge someone guilty or not. He doesn't have that power. Other countries' leaders do. We don't.
Exactly. That is our point. Exactly. Do you think if this thing happened in another country that this was gonna happen in another country? Oh no, they would have made the ruling right there and then.
No, but I'm arguing with the point that in fact, thank goodness we don't have that like this in this country, because you may have a leader judge making this decree one day that you're in agreement with, but he can also make 50 other decrees that you're not in agreement with, and then we have no checks and balances. I mean, that's effectively an authoritarian state. We don't have that in our country.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but all we are saying is this move was unethical, and even though I personally feel that the president of South Africa does not have respect for us, because he even made us wait an extra hour before he came on for about 10-15 minutes and said what he said, and it was like, it's over and done with, and there's going to be an investigation, and that's it.
Okay.
But I believe that they should have made Mkhwanazi the minister of police.
The minister himself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the plan of the march? So what are you? Let's talk about the march. So what are you doing today?
Okay, so the march is over now. So what we've done is we've marched the streets and we've just made it out clear that if anything happens to Mkhwanazi, I don't even want to think about what can happen and the precautions of such a thing. But we will stand behind Mkhwanazi all the way, no matter what, and we will then wait for Ramaphosa to make the ruling and see what happens then thereafter. But for now, we as South African citizens, we are not happy with this movement.
Okay.
That I can tell you
and
now.
as part of the march, you've delivered a memo. Is that correct?
Yes, the memorandum was given to Masimola. And unfortunately, due to the fact that I do not speak Zulu fluently, this action was taken in isiZulu. So I have got no clarity as per se as everything that he was saying there, due to the fact that I do not understand the language.
But what about others who are part of your march? Did you not have a translator there?
There was no translator. So I went and I stood one side. So I will get the relevant feedback from one of the other leaders that was there that can actually translate all in detail, due to the fact that my language was a disadvantage at that point.
Okay, Teresa Nortje, appreciate your time. Just a quick one in terms of, you may be aware, by the way, as we're talking, and maybe we suggest that nothing's happening, that we've had Shadrack Sibiya now, who's been also put on special leave, and this happened like about an hour or two ago. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, unfortunately, I have not heard anything of that as yet. So if he's also been put on special leave, it means that there's a big storm brewing, and I hope that the truth comes out sooner than expected.
Okay.
Because Mkhwanazi would not have made these accusations if he did not have the relevant proof.
Okay, got that. Teresa Nortje, one of the organizers of the hashtag Hands Off Mkhwanazi March. What do you make of that? And maybe just the last part on that one there. I hear what Teresa Nortje says, you don't make allegations if you don't have proof. I'm not saying he doesn't have proof, and he better have proof, but there are many examples of people making accusations and allegations about others when they don't have proof, and sometimes they're just completely wrong. I'm not saying that's the case here. I'm just saying that is why there's rule of law. You have to check and investigate into the issues. You can't take it literally based upon an allegation, even though the person says, I've got proof. Well, they must show the proof in a court of law, isn't it? Right, this is the National Pulse. We'll get more. There's developments all around us, right? There's news of a Mpumalanga Premier reshuffling the cabinet. And again, all that as the response of you-know-what, right? We'll talk about that next.
They both have a rich history of glory. Amakhosi tackle the Porcupine Warriors.
This is as good as it gets.
This is the Toyota Cup.
The game you've been looking forward to on your football calendar.
Giants refuse to fall.
The big game.
The big game. On Saturday, 26 July at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus across the entire African continent and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport in proud partnership with Kaizer Chiefs Football Club.
This Mandela Month, SAFM celebrates the spirit of Ubuntu, calling on all South Africans to engage, uplift, and do good for one another. Let's share what we have, lend a helping hand, and honor Madiba's legacy through kindness and action. Join SAFM as we bring you powerful conversations, inspiring stories, and voices that drive change all month long. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Right, you probably watched part 1 of the 5-part Chasing the Sun series that was last week Sunday. So let me just remind you, parts 2, 3, 4 and 5 all coming up on consecutive Sundays. And it happens on, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2 every Sunday. It's about South Africa's rugby team chasing the Sun, the Springboks, on their glory path to winning that World Cup in 2019. And by the way, you can, besides watching it traditionally on TV, if you download the SABC Plus app, then you can watch it streaming. Every chapter is streamed anywhere, anytime, no subscription needed. So don't miss it. Chasing the Sun this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. Be there when history shines.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, let's get to this story, brother. I welcome your comments. We'll try and get calls as soon as we can. You can WhatsApp right away. I know we played less today than before because of the extended interview with the Minister of Police, or the incoming Minister of Police. But let's talk about another development. In Mpumalanga Premier Mandla Ndlovu reshuffled his cabinet today. And the Premier sacked his Education MEC, Kathy Dlamini, together with the Economic Development and Tourism MEC, Makhosazana Masilela. Now, what is the story? Tula Sizwe Tomo with me in Mpumalanga's Province's Executive Council spokesperson. Tula Sizwe, good to connect with you on the National Pulse.
Thanks, Ashraf. How are you? Greetings to listeners of SAFM.
Much appreciate your time. I would think it's a bit of a day of high drama in your region. Tell us what's happened and the why around it too.
Ashraf, I lost you there.
I was saying it's clearly a day of high drama in your region. Tell us what's happened and why. Why were these decisions taken?
Well, it's not drama per se. You will understand that the Premier has a prerogative to change some of us who are part of his executive as and when we are not performing. In the best interest, of course, of good governance, efficient service delivery and public trust. So the Premier has actually conducted several assessments in all our departments, including my department, after realizing that there are certain changes that he ought to effect. He did exactly that, of course, in the interest of the public and also in the interest of ensuring that he strengthened the government for us to be able to address service delivery related challenges and a number of challenges that are confronting the province. You will understand that our province is one of the provinces that is actually confronted with high rate of unemployment and poverty. So in his reshuffling, he was trying to strengthen the cabinet in order for us to be able to respond to these challenges that I've highlighted and other challenges that are confronted by our people in the province.
Let's just go back in terms of, the allegations made against the people, because there's been huge conversations around different sorts of allegations all around the country for different things, but certainly in your region, the issue of laptops. Just give us some perspective so we understand it.
Well, I for now, I wouldn't have a clear report, but I know that the Premier has been on top of this situation in ensuring that a thorough investigation is done in that particular matter. And he has committed on several media platforms, including SAFM, to say by the end of this month, he would issue a particular report or a report after concluding that investigation for everyone to at least acquaint him or herself on that particular report. So he is committing that, and today, even in the media briefing, he has committed that that report is still outstanding and is still going to conduct another media briefing so that he can at least appraise people of the Republic in terms of what is it that that report entails.
And give us a sense of the investigation and report in terms of what type of report it would be. That means it will undertake. And I don't mean the findings that will come, but in terms of what's being planned now.
Ashraf, I wouldn't want to venture into those details as I'm not privy to that report. You'll remember the Premier appointed people that he thinks are credible to ensure that that investigation is conducted credibly. Even some of us who are part of his executive, he has not shared in terms of the terms of reference of that particular report. But I strongly believe, Ashraf, that when that report is going to be concluded, we will come back to this very same platform and express, or rather appraise yourself and the people of the Republic in terms of what that report entails.
Okay, understandable. Now you've got 2 vacancies. What about the replacement?
There are no vacancies. Today we have replaced, or the Premier rather, has replaced the MEC for Education with the former Speaker, Lindy Masina, and also Economic Development was replaced by Chester Seidel, who was the member of the legislature, who is now occupying that position of the Department of Economic Development and Tourism in the province.
Okay, let's leave it at that, and we'll look forward to that final report coming out in a few weeks' time. Tulasizwe Tomo, Mpumalanga Province's Executive Council spokesperson. That in the light of that cabinet reshuffle, as you've just heard, as per the Premier of Mpumalanga. This is the National Pulse.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation. Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Okay, let's get to some of the comments, and there's been many that we have not been able to take anymore, but earlier on rather. Here's one. It's not a trust in the police anymore. It's more trusting the system of which the police are working under. It's now about not trusting the person who is supposed to be ensuring that the system works. That's one comment. Here's more.
Good afternoon, SAFM. Emmanuel, Dollar in Durban. I think the police in South Africa, SAPS, has destroyed its image, integrity. Police are not honest and cannot be trusted. The police are also unhelpful. If you go to the police station, maybe you go to open the case. Police are working with criminals. That's all. Thank you.
Police are working with criminals. Well, I mean, in fact, that's the allegation, isn't it? Let's get further calls. Romeo in KZN. Go for it, Romeo.
Ashraf, how are you this afternoon?
Good talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you for picking up my call and the greeting to all SFM family members. I just wanted to pass my condolences to the former president of Nigeria who passed on. However, I've got a challenge to our African leaders. They keep on dying in a foreign land, leaving their own country to go and get education in the UK, in America, in Malaysia, wherever, here in South Africa. Can't we do the right thing and correct our system? By the journey today, we are still looking for help from other countries, such as far as in Europe, and to bring that person back home is also expensive, and that will be a government issue. I think our leaders need to open up their eyes and start to do the right thing by making our health very favorable, including those who are in Europe, to an extent of wishing to come and get medication in Nigeria or neither in South Africa or in Guinea or in DRC, all those kinds of things. This is why we kept on having all these civil wars that we are having in our continent is due because of corruption, and corruption as if like it has become our saying now in our names.
Thank you, Romeo, for making your point. Well, I mean, that's the essence of the story. One of the measures of a country that you judge in terms of its healthcare is the willingness of a leader to be able to receive healthcare in his or her own country. Now, you know, we had this conversation last week with the Minister of Health and the spokesperson from the from Action SA, where they said that it should be compulsory for MPs to go to public hospitals in South Africa. And then the Minister of Health effectively confirmed that's his position too, but it's his personal view. But the fact is, yes, if they think it's not good enough, they're going to go to another hospital, private. If they can't do that in their own country, they move off to another country, as has happened so often with African leaders. That's a blight. That is a blight on the individual countries, isn't it?
Ashraf, good afternoon. It's Clinton here. Ashraf, I heard this morning on the radio there is 15 municipalities in Limpopo who is technically bankrupt. Ashraf, the ANC-led corrupt government shouldn't be anywhere near any power in 2029. The ANC shouldn't get any snuff of power in 2029. They've got nothing more to offer this beautiful country of ours. And yes, Ashraf, it looks like I don't know where will it all end, Ashraf? Oh, Ashraf, oh.
That sounds like a prayer or a plea, and I hear you. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that. Yeah. Kandisa in Matlosana, you're now live. Let's get your point.
Good evening, Afrash. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good indeed. Go for it. What's your point?
Good. Afrash, man, please, we request you people of media to invite people of demarcation board. You know, we raise our issues with demarcation board, and it seems like they just do things their ways. You know, we requested as people of Stilfontein to be removed out of Matlosana municipality. But the demarcation board does not want to listen to us. You remember what happened in Messimaholo in Free State. You remember what happened in Potchefstroom, Ventersdorp and Potchefstroom. We requested a demarcation board that we don't want to be part of Matlosana anymore, because as people of Stilfontein, we are not benefiting anything. We are just giving mayors, but there is not service delivery in our area. This area is not growing. There's nothing. Always when we raise issues, they said, we need some stands. They said our place, our area is Dolomite. Okay. Now we are saying, as people of Stilfontein, we are enough. It's enough.
Okay, Kandisa,
we are enough.
Kandisa, really, I'm sorry. You know, that type of level of dissatisfaction we can copy and paste around the country. There's so many people so dissatisfied. I do hope something can come out of it. I really do. And if we can chat to the demarcation board, maybe we'll do so. I'll speak to Timber and maybe Keys to set it up. But the frustration, we can all hear that. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, National Police Commissioner General Fani Masamula has confirmed that Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibiya has been placed on leave. Nearly 28 million voters were registered for the elections last year, while over 16 million people actually turned out to cast their votes. And reports indicate that the British government has set up a secret relocation scheme for Afghans at risk of retribution by the Taliban after a major data breach. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange, the N3 southbound in Alexandra, queuing towards London Road, and the N1 southbound in Fourways, queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive. In KZN, South Coast Road is where truck congestion is reported in that Rosberg area, so you are to expect delays. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has a crash reported at Plattekloof Hill. The N2 outbound has a bus crash reported. That's at the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive exit, and Voortrekker Road is slow moving through Maitland. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Stay tuned to SAFM. Coming up, this is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, you've got rugby on your mind.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the muscle that Coach Rassie Erasmus has brought in changes ahead of Saturday's one-off test against Georgia in Mbombela. He's named a fresh front row and a surprise start for Kobus Visser at number 8 in place of his suspended brother Jasper. All three front rows, Boan Venter, Maurice van der Merwe and Neethling Forshire, will make their debut, while Siya Kolisi returns to lead the side after recovering from injury. Erasmus says the selection was part of a long-term strategy to deepen the Boks bench strength ahead of the Rugby Championship. Kickoff is at 5:10. On a soccer, Banyana coach Desiree Ellis very impressed with her team's quality display in their final group match against Mali. This after the South Africans secured a dominant 4-0 win at the Onia Stadium. Ellis is glad her players managed to create and finish chances to win by a large margin.
Not just on our finishing, but we keep working on everything because there's no perfect game. There's always room for improvement, and if we continue working, we'll get better at how we do it. And tonight was a culmination of that. Hopefully, we can take this performance and push it up a notch, because now you get to the knockout stages. There's no second chances now.
Women's soccer will continue with as France return to training at a rainy Saint-Gallen as Laurent Bonnadet's side prepare for their Euro 2025 quarterfinal clash with Germany. Now, the women's French team, they've won all of their 3 games in the tournament so far. They'll face Germany, who finished second in their group. That's next Saturday at the St. Jakob Park in Basel. The Germans are the most successful nation in the history of the Women's Euro and have an impressive 8 titles, while the French are dreaming of winning the competition for the first time. And finally, wheelchair tennis. The wheelchair tennis star Alwanda Sikosana says he's looking forward to representing South Africa for the first time at the upcoming Flanders Open in Belgium.
Well, I feel honored to go represent my country doing what I love, but mostly grateful for the opportunity. And in terms of expectations, I don't really have much expectations, but I believe I've done the work in preparation for this tour, and I'm going there to bring my A performance and fight through every match. And of course, winning at home was a great experience, and I think it had actually some contribution to this coming tour, and it gave me the confidence that I needed for this tournament.
We'll be serving more than just aces. Top of the hour, I'm Zai Khan.
Not strawberries, eh?
No. And cream, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, more sport in an hour.
My name is Fikile Makama. I'm from Cape Town and I'm a defender. Between city life and village life, I will choose village life. I like being around people. I would like to say to my friends back home, they know where I come from. They've seen my struggles. So me being here is me representing them and my family. We are the champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connect.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
SABC News turns 75 on July the 17th, 2025.
Since the dawn of democracy, SABC News has grown into your trusted source for news and current affairs, shaping our nation and the world for the past 75 years.
From July 12th to the 17th, SAFM Current Affairs presents exclusive interviews with iconic presenters, producers, and news leaders.
We're exploring the legacy of SABC News, highlighting the voices that have defined our story.
Join SAFM for a week of compelling reports and unforgettable moments.
SABC News at 75.
Independent and impartial.
Business feature is sponsored by CFI, an authorized financial services provider, a global leader in online trading now available in South Africa. Visit cfi.trade today.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Let's get to those facts and figures with Makwe Masilela, who is the Chief Investment Officer at Makwe Fund Managers. Good to connect. You've got news locally and globally, Makwe.
Afternoon to you, Ashraf. Yes, China's economy grew at a faster than expected rate in Q2, keeping the country on track to meet their full year target of 5% and easing some pressure on policymakers to step up stimulus to underpin growth. And the US dollar started the session firmer as traders awaited inflation data that could provide clues on the path of interest rates. Dollar also got some support from elevated yields. And yes, when released, the US inflation rose in June by less than expected for a fifth month. Stocks remained higher, treasury yields fluctuated, and the dollar was lower after the report. And that's because money markets are pricing in a 62% chance of a 25 basis point rate cut by September, and also priced in almost 2 reductions by year end. And locally, we saw our May mining production going up by 0.2%, rebounding slightly after a sharp 7.7% decline in April and ending a 6-month streak of declines. Oil prices dip as traders weigh Trump's Russia sanctions delay and also that Chinese GDP. OPEC said the global economy may perform better in the second half and help support the demand outlook. Brent crude is down 0.2% at $68 a barrel. Gold traders continue to be concerned over the global trade war, and that is fueling safe haven demand, but the muted US inflation is capping that demand to some extent, and we see gold is up only 0.1% at $3,347. 0.7% at 1,380. Global markets, Ashraf, are flat with the JSE continuing cautiously up, that is up 0.3%, and driven mainly by our industrials, which are up 0.7%, and the rand firmed 0.2% against the US dollar, 17.85, 23.92 against the pound, and 20.76 against the euro.
Right, perfect. Thank you for that, Mark Wayne. Of course, don't forget from 6 to 7, as it is every day. There's a more detailed conversation around some of the big issues that we touch in the field of business with Jimmy Moyaha, right? And he, in fact, will talk to the Department of Communications and their call for sustainable funding models for the SABC.
Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. Victory demands everything, but the journey is never solo. My team carves the way, data and innovation are my compass. This is how today's champions are made.
Trade like a champion with CFI. Access over 15,000 instruments, advanced trading tools, 24/7 support, and superior trading services. Visit cfi.trade today. CFI Financial Markets LLC is a Category 1 licensed broker by the UAE Securities and Commodities Authority. Trading involves high risk.
CFI, empower yourself.
Thank you for tuning in to today's business feature, proudly sponsored by CFI, a leading trading app now available in South Africa. Download it now. Visit cfi.trade today.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Right, let's get to another issue that should be a cause for concern. I suppose it's a cause for concern for me because I often use an Uber car, sometimes coming to work maybe twice a week or sometimes 3 as well, right? So today, dozens of e-hailing operators embarked on a protest at Uber's headquarters in Parktown, Johannesburg. Let's find out why. They have particular concerns they wish to raise. Melithemba Nguni is the secretary of the E-Hailing Partners Council. Thank you for connecting with us on the National Pulse. Hello.
Thank you, Ashraf, for having me.
Thank you. Right. So tell me, what's the protest about?
The protest, the issues are around pricing, and the issues are not new. They're just getting worse and worse. So the pricing system itself, Uber and Bolt as well, they've got what they call dynamic pricing, in which there is no transparency on the pricing system, but also the issue of commission, which you would understand that it used to be at 15% when they arrived in the country. It has gone up to an extent that currently it's sitting over 40%. And when you look at it, it is not justified. What it keeps on causing, it's decreasing the earnings from the operators. And as a result, currently the operators cannot breathe.
So let's understand this. Let's say a trip costs 100 rands, which I technically have to pay you through Uber, for example. In the past, 15 rands of the 100 would go to Uber and the driver would keep the balance. You're saying now 40 rands goes to Uber and 60 rand goes to the driver. Is that what you're saying, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Actually, sometimes it's even more than that. Remember, I told you about the dynamic pricing. So there is no consistency on the commission as well. Sometimes it's even more than 40% what they're taking.
Okay. Have they explained the reasoning? Because, I mean, there's a big difference between 15% to 40% or even more than that. There's a huge difference between that.
Look, there's never been a consultation. Hence, we've always dispelled the notion of partnership that is happening. There's no Uber is unreachable. The office that we have at Sandton Kramerville, it's a satellite office where it's just administrative issues. They are not responsive, and hence the frustration that you are seeing with the current uprising that are taking place.
So when you say unreachable, so for example, let's say now, if you are delivering a memorandum, right, you may get, are you saying you may get a junior clerk administration person receiving it, but there's no decision maker that you can hand it over to?
Indeed, you are on that. Actually, on the platform itself, initially what used to happen was that initially the executive was accessible years back. Then they moved on to interact through the in-call and in messaging on the app, which interact with the human being from the other side. Eventually, they took that away. Currently, you interact with an AI that responds to you on the basis of whether wedding. It does not necessarily address your issues. If you then talk about in terms of going to the Uber, anyone with any executive powers, you're going to get just someone who's just doing administrative work there.
It's the most bizarre thing. Why would Uber allow that to happen so that you can come on the air and say what you've just said? Why I'm saying that is that is not good for the Uber brand. We come to you in a moment. Like, they would damage their brand by allowing that to continue. Why do you think they would do that?
Look, remember the business of e-hailing is two-sided. On the other side, the passenger is happy. What they are doing, it's keeping drivers on the road 24/7. What they are doing, they are overflooding the market. As a user yourself, you would know that often you just get at the top of your finger. It's because they've overflooded the market. So on your side, you would be getting the service and it works for you. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm not sure what is happening with Uber, because if, like you said, I know you are a user of Uber, you would have seen that the service itself has declined so badly from over the years. The condition of the vehicles, the service from drivers themselves, which relates to the how they are treating the operators, how unprofitable the business is for vehicles to be maintained and so forth. You then wonder the people that are running Uber, how they are. But I think they are at a point where they are profit driven and they no longer care about anything else. Someone would say that maybe they are at an age where they are saying, let's take the most that we can and then we're out of here.
Okay, so, and I understand, I mean, you mentioned Uber. Would this be other e-hailing services like Bolt, and would the same thing apply to them? And maybe there's some others that I don't even know the names, yeah?
It is. The Uber happens to be the trend maker. They are the one that leads everything that happens. And it then becomes difficult even with other platforms. That's when they will tell you that, but Uber is doing this, and then we have to follow suit. For example, in terms of the commission, others are slightly lower than Uber. That's why Uber is mentioned the most. But with what is happening, then they will follow suit, because then that means that's where the like I said, they are the trend maker in terms of the business.
That's understandable, right? So let's talk about today's protest. I mean, so you protested. There's been some demands you've made. What are the demands?
The demands are simple. The operators are unhappy with dynamic pricing. Do away with dynamic pricing, and do away with this commission that is too high, exorbitant, not justified. So they're asking for commission to go back as far as 15 and 25%. Those are the demands that are there.
Okay, and if they don't accede to your demands?
Unfortunately, that is the reality that we've been faced with. The biggest challenge that we have in the e-hailing industry is that those that are operating the space are slow to appreciate the importance of being organized. We're talking of an industry that in Gauteng alone is sitting between 30 to 50,000 operators. All of these operators join on their individual capacity on the platform. They start operating. They are part of WhatsApp groups, some are not. And being part of WhatsApp group does not necessarily mean being organized. So they've never earned respect from these. And this is an industry which flushes people out. So there is no one who's got value, whether the driver or the car, because you come and go. There is nothing stopping them from putting other vehicles and other drivers. So if you're not happy, you are flushed out.
Okay, and I understand the desperation. So just two things before I let you go. One is that the protest was today. Will the protest, continue, number one? And number two, do you have, since you're saying Uber is like faceless, you don't know who you're talking to, do you have recourse to anybody else? I'm looking at like the Department of Transport, local municipalities, trade and industry. I mean, all of those things would be impacted by your issues. Do you have any recourse to them? Are you in conversation with them?
You are indeed right there. Like I said, you must understand that these uprisings are spontaneous. They are not well coordinated. It's a lot of frustration that is there on the ground, that is seeing people just rising up organic. So to tell you in terms of the logistics, it will be difficult. But in terms of recourse, like you said, we do have a case currently with the Competition Commission on margin squeeze, which speaks to the commission that is happening, but also infringement on the right for consumer to know in terms of pricing, because we are consuming the app as operators. But also on the Department of Transport, like you said, the National Land Transport Act gives the minister the powers to govern pricing in terms of public transport, which those powers the minister has apportioned them to all the MECs across the country. And we've been to the MECs before to say, please govern the pricing. And there were efforts that were made with the previous MEC in terms of organizing the mediation process. However, without bargaining powers, they used all the issues on the book to avoid taking responsibility. But we are looking into that avenue.
That's where we're going to leave it. That problem needs to be resolved. Secretary of the E-Hailing Partners Council, Melly Tembi Nguni. And I can tell you now there's reaction already. It could be drivers, it could be commuters, all using Ubers and Bolt and others too. What do you make of it? This is the National Pulse.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
My name is Dino Makakula, the goalkeeper for Banyana. I like cooking stew and pap, bit of dessert, which is scones. What will I say to the loyal fans? We acknowledge your support and we appreciate you being with us each and every step of the way. Please keep on supporting, keep on working with us in this journey that we took as individuals and as a team. We appreciate it. We are the champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the Soundtrack of Your Life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Call us on 086 000 2032.
Okay, I need to hear what you have to say. And in fact, whereas we've had lots of earlier calls around the conversation with the Minister of Police, Feroz Kachalia, and you can check it out. It's been tweeted out, I understand, and also on the sfm.coza website. And we'll chat to Alan Busak coming up later. There's lots of comments as well on e-hailing and Uber. Vuyo in Cosmo. Vuyo, go for it. Hello.
Afternoon, Ashraf. How are you?
I'm good indeed. Go for it. What's your point?
I'm well. So I'm actually a Bolt driver, not Uber, but I think I'm just agreeing with what the brother just said, who just came onto the show. I think we are very slow to organize, and that puts us in a very gray area. And I mean, it allows these guys to do as they wish, and I think we need to have stricter policies in place and clear guidelines as to, okay, if you're going to take a commission, what is it based on? If it's going to be dynamic, what are the ins and outs of that? And secondly,
so why would the drivers then be slow to organize unless it's not allowed for them to organize?
It's not. I don't think it's not allowed. I mean, there's no rule saying that you're not allowed to formalize and to unionize or anything like that. But I think because we come in as individuals, we don't know each other. We don't even see each other. I mean, you see a car that looks like a Bolt on the road or an Uber, but you don't actually know who the other person is. So there's no place where we say we meet in the mornings or in the afternoons or anything like that. But you have a few people, like you have the WhatsApp groups that happen here and there where people might know. So some don't know, some do know, some have those WhatsApp groups, some don't.
Okay.
But yeah, for some others, the information wasn't actually passed. I actually only heard it on the radio, and then I was stopped by the guys who were actually doing the strike. So I would actually like to get some more information as to how we can get through to I forgot his name, but if you guys can just give us more information.
I'll tell you what, leave your details with Keys, my producer. Just leave your details with him, and let's see if he can connect you. Okay?
Yeah,
I think you need to do that. Yeah.
Sorry, but the point I was actually putting out is that just recently Uber just announced the profit margins had gone up. I forgot what the number was, but it was in if not millions of dollars, it was billions. So I can't confirm the number, but it clearly shows who is suffering for them to get these numbers. The shareholders are very happy, customers are also happy, but at the end of the day, the guys who are on the ground are the ones who are suffering.
Well,
so
okay.
I think. Yeah.
All right. Got that. Thank you. But let me reconnect you to Keys. Let's see what we can do, right? Hi, Ashraf. Listening to SAFM makes one realize all the more that we don't need to spend millions of rands on the national dialogue. All Mr. President must do is to just listen to SAFM to understand the concerns and challenges of South Africans. Comes from Modige from Cape Town. Well, by and large, you're right. I'm not saying don't have a national dialogue, but if you want to get really the feel of a nation, this is the show. Well, this is the entire station, SAFM. Chapiwa also wants to talk about e-hailing. Go for it. Chapiwa, hello.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good indeed, right? What's your point?
Yeah. I think we had a cabinet that is actually useless and old, because if you want to look at the e-hailing business, since its inception in this country, it's not regularized. Uber can lower the prices per kilometer below even 5 rand, below even 3 rand. And if you want to compare, since its inception in 2014-15, the price per kilometer was 7 rand 50 cents per kilometer. Today, the price per kilometer is 4 rand 50 cents. The car wash that we used to go, that's almost 6-7 years back. Now it's 100 something per wash. You can't even do a full valet. It's close to 500 right now. And so the cost of overhead, they actually skyrocketed over the years to an extent that no one can even stop or control it.
Yeah.
But they are still taking their 40%, 35%, whatsoever percentage through this dynamic pricing one, and that will jeopardize the safety of a car and the roadworthiness of a car, because now we can't afford to take the cars for a service.
I tell you what, we must try and get hold of Uber if we can get hold of them and not speak to somebody from a bot. We need to do that. I hear what you're saying, because, I mean, what's that story? Don't kill the goose, right? Don't kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Tapiwa, thank you for that call. Let's get another quick call. We're going to talk about, Minister of Police Cachalia. Morare, go for it. Hello.
Hello, Ashraf.
Yes, go for it. Thanks for calling in. Go for it.
Thank you. I just want to talk about the disappointment of Professor Cachalia.
Yeah.
Yeah, Professor Cachalia was a deployee of the ANC, and then even right now, he's still the deployee of the ANC. We don't expect anything different. It's just like them. It's the same WhatsApp group with the president and also with Kunu. There is no difference that is coming with. It's not a messiah at all. The status quo is going to be maintained as it is, because now this country is just in a disaster position because of the ANC and then their leadership.
Okay.
So I don't expect anything positive from Professor Cachalia. Instead, I know that this country is going to be flooded by the Pakistans and the Somalians, who will be exported from their country into this one. Okay. And then it's going to be worse.
All right, that's what you say. Very much, well, clearly he's an ANC man. I think there's no question about that. Whether that then gets reflected when you lead as in a minister, well, I've never been a minister, so I don't know what I would expect. I would certainly expect all these political parties to push their person, isn't it? Let's get the news. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. Police's Shadrach Sabir placed on leave, and UK government sets up a relocation scheme for Afghans. Good day to you. The National Police Commissioner, Fani Masemola, has confirmed that the Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrach Sabir, has been placed on leave. This is pending investigations into claims by the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner. Sabir is alleged to have links to criminal syndicates that have infiltrated the police, including controversial tenderpreneur Vusi Muzi Kat Matlala. Masemola spoke to the media in Durban today.
I asked him to stay home while at the same time I'm doing internal investigation. The internal investigation will determine as to what next course of action will be taken. I can't preempt. Probably the investigation can say, no, there's nothing, come back.
Acting Durban Port Manager Nkumbusi Ben Mazwi says they've spent more than 1.9 billion rand on improving infrastructure in the country's busiest port over the past few years. This comes after the port experienced a huge backlog at the end of 2023. He says Bay Head Road, which handles over 13,000 container-carrying trucks every 12 hours, is also undergoing maintenance.
Currently, as we speak, we're busy with the Bay Head Road. The Bay Head Road, as you'll know, it is the artery of all the trucks that are going to the DCT, Durban Container Terminal, where most of our container volumes are based. So with that, I mean, you'll notice as well from a TPT point of view, as well the landlord as TNPA at the Port of Durban, we've got one of our terminal operators, which is TPT as well, putting a lot of equipment as well, buying equipment like straddle carriers to try to improve, I mean, the turnaround of the vessels.
Minal Ben Mazwi says the port authority is collaborating with various agencies to clamp down on the movement of illicit goods.
But the police presence in here, the traffic, the municipal traffic police, they're present at the point. They are assisting us with that. So that's the only way we'll be able to deal with these issues, through collaboration, working with other agencies that are assisting us to deal with the issue. You'll know Port of Durban is one of the biggest ports, so it will always be targeted for such. So, but for us, we'll win it once we are ahead of the game. I'll not say we're there, but we're working towards that through collaboration and working with all other security agencies that we've got.
Nearly 28 million voters were registered for the elections last year, while more than 16 million people actually turned out to cast their ballots. The IEC appeared before Parliament's Home Affairs Committee in Parliament. Chairperson of the Electoral Commission who appeared is Masutu Mwepia.
That the Commission went, even in its papers in the Constitutional Court, it indicated that it needed no less than 18 months for the law to be confirmed and settled, for us to revise legislation, undertake education, and do all that is necessary to prepare for these elections. You will also know it was not so in the end. We were left with far too little time to deal with this. But I repeat, even so, we did all in our powers to ensure that we implement this and implement it to the best of our abilities.
8 police officials have appeared in the Potchefstroom Magistrates Court in the northwest for alleged theft and defeating the ends of justice. They allegedly stopped a truck loaded with illicit cigarettes, registered a case of possession of illicit cigarettes, but didn't book the entire consignment in as evidence. Further investigations led crime intelligence officials to a Potchefstroom home where several cigarette boxes with an estimated value of 125,000 rand were found in one of the suspects' vehicles. The suspects are currently out on bail. Reports indicate that the British government has set up a secret relocation scheme for Afghans at risk of retribution by the Taliban after a major data breach. The details of nearly 20,000 people who worked with international forces in Afghanistan were mistakenly leaked online by a British defence official. The UK government's apologised and says it's spending more than $1 billion in helping Afghans move to the UK. The BBC's Frank Gardner has more.
In February 2022, 6 months after the Taliban seized control of Afghanistan, an unnamed individual at the MOD committed an unauthorised data breach relating to the government's relocation scheme for thousands of Afghans who'd worked for British forces in that country. The breach was not discovered until August 2023. A super injunction was then granted, forbidding any reporting of the breach, and this has only been lifted today, with some Afghans only learning now they may be at risk.
Top story, the National Police Commission has confirmed that the Deputy National Commissioner for Crime Detection, Shadrack Sibiya, has been placed on leave. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Khus.
And it's a very good afternoon to you. I'm Zai Khan. In your SFM sports headlines, we have got rugby with Rassie Erasmus and heralding a new era for the Springboks. And we also have cricket news. And this time it's from Harare that the Proteas head to T20 with George Linder spinning a comeback. We'll find out more at around 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound in Germiston, queuing towards Jet Park Road, the N1 southbound in Centurion, slow moving on the link to the N1 south at Brockfontein interchange. And Greyston Drive eastbound in Sandton has a crash reported before the M1 highway. In KZN, the N3 westbound in Hammersdale, a stationary truck after Cliffdale, the N2 southbound, an earlier stationary truck reported just before Spaghetti Junction, has been cleared, but traffic is still slow moving. In Cape Town, the N7 Jakes Hartwell Drive in Langa is queuing on the ramp to the N2 outbound due to a stationary bus obstruction. The N2 inbound in Somerset West has a truck crash reported at Broadlands Road, so expect delays and diversions. And Main Road northbound is queuing at Clovelly. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, leading the conversation.
SAFM, in partnership with SABC CSI and the Butongo Rhino and Lion Nature Reserve, will be providing a game drive experience for the Orlando Children's Home for our Nelson Mandela Day initiative. Tune in to The Full Circle with Bertha Chiruma on the 18th of July 2025, 1 to 3 p.m. Coming to you live from the Butongo Rhino and Lion Nature Reserve as we commemorate Nelson Mandela Day. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The Morning Brief.
Do we know why our driver's license expires every 5 years and we have to go through the schlep of renewing it?
Look, there's no real or valid explanation to have to renew the license every 5 years, because it's not like you undergo test again or your ability to drive is tested again. The only thing they do is test your eyesight. I can assure you, I do not want to drive if you're blind. So it's just a fallacy. And in fact, most countries around the world are at an average of 10 years, some 15, even 20, to just renew the card. And this is, quite frankly, a money-making scheme.
That's Wayne Duvenage, who is CEO of the organization Undoing Tax Abuse.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so let's look at what moves the National Pulse. The passing of Muhammadu Buhari. I mean, I know it didn't happen today, but there's been reaction to that. Then the issue of the march, which is hands off Mkhwanazi, and the chat I had with Teresa Norkia. We should have the podcast up of that too. The Mpumalanga cabinet reshuffle, the e-hailing drivers protesting outside Uber's HQ. They say they can't even speak face to face with them, not at all. And then early on, the conversation I had with the now incoming Minister of Police, Feroz Kachalia. All of that amongst the biggest issues that drives the National Pulse. And you can listen to those as a podcast. Go to sfm.goza, or we tweet it out. So check it out on our Twitter timeline. And there's more to come on that issue, by the way, because Reverend Alan Busak, will chat to him. And that's because the Walter and Albertina Sisulu Foundation have accused Ramaphosa, the president, of delaying real accountability in South Africa's corruption crisis. So we'll talk to him about that. In the meantime, let's talk about the African National Congress. They've been also particularly busy with many things. Now, their Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, briefed the media following the announcement by President Ramaphosa of the Commission of Inquiry after allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. So we picked out a few important quotes or statements coming out of that briefing. Firstly, he reflected on the decision to place Senzo Mkhunu on special leave.
Instance of an organized criminal syndicate operating within the state's security architecture. Left unaddressed, such allegations threaten to erode public confidence in the institutions that are meant to protect the South African people and uphold the rule of law. The ANC views the President's response as both necessary and responsible. His establishment of a Judicial Commission of Inquiry is an act of leadership that demonstrates an unwavering commitment to constitutional democracy, accountability, and the principle that no individual, regardless of their position, is above the law. It affirms that the fight against crime and corruption will not be waged through expedient populism or grandstanding, but through lawful, transparent, and institutional processes grounded in our democratic order. The decision to place Minister of Police, Comrade Senzo Mkhunu, on a leave of absence is equally commendable. It is a proactive and considered measure taken in the interest of ensuring that due process is not compromised. Importantly, this decision does not imply guilt or prejudgment. It is a step that preserves the integrity of both the executive and the investigation itself. The President has acted in full accordance with his constitutional authority as provided in Section 91, subsection 2 of the Constitution, to appoint and relieve members of the Cabinet. The ANC reaffirms and respects this constitutional prerogative. As the ANC, we welcome the President's consistent approach of allowing institutions to function independently, guided by law and not by political expediency. His actions continue to reflect a clear commitment to the restoration and strengthening of the state. This commission is not an isolated intervention.
Right, so that's one part of what are the many things that the Secretary General of the African National Congress said. But there's more, right? And just a reminder, we'll chat to Alan Brusek later on, shortly that is. Now, Mbalula then also made the point regarding the public reaction to Mkhwanazi, and this is what he said.
Also call on all South Africans who may possess relevant information to come forward, cooperate with the Commission, and support efforts to cleanse our institutions of criminal capture and misconduct. This is not a moment for complacency, nor is it a time for political theatre. It is time for principled leadership, for renewal in action, and for a reaffirmation of the values that underpin the liberation movement's commitment to building a capable, developmental and ethical state. President Cyril Ramaphosa has, even under intense political pressure, stayed the course of constitutionalism. He has not resorted to populist shortcuts or destructive patches. Instead, he has chosen the harder but ultimately more sustainable path of rebuilding public institutions, brick by brick, law by law, reform by reform. His approach is not driven by the need for applause, but by the imperative of transformation and accountability within the bounds of legality. The African National Congress stands resolute in defense of constitutional governance. We reaffirm our support for the Commission of Inquiry, for the President's leadership, and for all lawful and transparent processes aimed at restoring the integrity of the state. In the end, the strength of our democracy will be judged not by the absence of crisis, but by how we respond to it. In a society faced with criminality, a demand for instant justice is understandable, but it must not come at the expense of legal credibility. South Africa's constitution demands that even the fight against corruption be conducted within the bounds of legality, transparency and fairness. The work of commissions of inquiry show a maturing democracy, one that prioritizes substance over spectacle.
Right, so that is the Secretary General of the African National Congress. Now, just to make the point about what we said earlier on, we had a chat with the incoming Minister of Police, now Professor Feroz Kachalia, and of course he spoke about many things. You do need to listen to that podcast, so please do, okay? But amongst the points, of course, he responded to the oft-repeated concerns from many people, including myself and others, that, every commission of inquiry, one after the other, what's the strike rate, just how successful are they? And this is what he said.
Well, let me say something perhaps of the one that I'm most familiar with, which is the Zondo Commission of Inquiry, because the council that I've been chairing had the responsibility, among others, to advise, to monitor the implementation of the recommendations of the Zondo Commission. The Zondo Commission's recommendations are divided into two categories. one set of recommendations concerned institutional transformation, setting up new regulatory bodies. So that is it takes time. It involves budgets. There needs to be an engagement with departments that within whose responsibility setting up institutions like a new body, for instance, which is one of the recommendations that Justice Zondo Commission made, particularly in the area of procurement. And the council that I was chairing, the National Anti-Corruption Council, took his recommendations into account at the request of the president. So recommendations we've made, which have not yet been finalized in the cabinet, but is on its way there, we were instructed by the president to take Justice Zondo's Commission's recommendations on the whole area of institutional transformation into account. Now, those people who are saying that it's taking a long time and that the recommendations are not receiving consideration, I can understand the frustration, but it's also important for the public to understand when we are setting up new structures of government, which need new staff, which need budgets and so forth, the new legislation, that does take time.
All right.
Okay. The second, let me just make it clear. The second is that the Justice Zondo referred some cases for further investigation and prosecution to the NPA. When he referred those matters, he was not able to come to the conclusion that he had evidence that these people need to be prosecuted. What he had evidence of was the kind of evidence that required further investigation. And that also takes time, but I think that the public are justifiably concerned that the investigative bodies and the prosecutorial authorities have taken too much time. They've had some wins and some losses. And I think that the public is also worried that some of the people who are identified are powerful politicians and they may still be in a position to interfere with the process. Now, I can say that that is not acceptable, and certainly on my watch, that it's the NPAs in the Department of Justice, but it's supposed to be independent. And I think working together with the minister in that department, as well as the presidency, our job is to ensure that the NPA has the independence, resources, and the skills it needs to prosecute such cases effectively.
Right, that's the incoming Minister of Police, Feroz Kachalia. There's other developments as well on a day where, goodness man, we are struggling to keep up, right? Minister Creasy has dissolved the RAF board, and this follows persistent governance and operational challenges that have beset the RAF and significantly undermine its ability to discharge its statutory mandate. So they were Road Accident Fund. That board has been dissolved, and there's more. We'll chat to Reverend Dr. Alan Busak after this.
They both have a rich history of glory. Amakosi tackle the Porcupine Warriors.
This is as good as it gets.
This is the Toyota Cup.
The game you've been looking forward to on your football calendar.
Giants refuse to fall.
The big game.
The big game. On Saturday, 26 July at 2:30 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus across the entire African continent and SABC One. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport in proud partnership with Kaizer Chiefs Football Club.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
My name is Dino Makakula, the goalkeeper for Banyana. I like cooking stew and pap, bit of dessert, which is scones. What will I say to the loyal fans? We acknowledge your support and we appreciate you being with us each and every step of the way. Please keep on supporting, keep on walking with us in this journey that we took as individuals and as a team. We appreciate it. We are the champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
This Mandela Month, Nelson Mandela once said,
"We have traveled a long journey. We have fought for peace and reconciliation, for social justice, for all men, women, and children."
SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Right, the drama continues, isn't it? The Walter and Albertina Sisulu Foundation has accused President Ramaphosa of delaying real accountability in South Africa's corruption crisis. In fact, they've come out and said he should resign. Let's get reaction from the chairperson of the Walter and Albertina Sisulu Foundation for Social Justice, and that is Reverend Dr. Alan Busak. Good to connect with you as always here on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to your listeners.
Thank you. So you're calling for him, your board are calling for the president to resign. That's a bit drastic, isn't it?
Why is it drastic? The crisis is so deep, Ashraf, and we've now come to the conclusion it's not just here and there incidental issues that have confronted South Africans in terms of corruption, in terms of governance, in terms of accountability, responsibility, and so forth. It is that we are facing a crisis that is so deep that you can no longer say to replace one face with another is just going to help in this one department. You've got to tackle the problem foundationally and fundamentally. And we think that President Cyril Ramaphosa's weak leadership, his inability to do what is necessary, his inability to act in order to correct all these issues that are wrong is at the heart of the problem. So we think that it would be best for him to resign, that we scrap the system that we have and that we start over, because we have already seen too much that is wrong in this country that is not being addressed.
Okay. Interesting you say, I mean, it's so systemic. It's not just on top, it goes all the way down to the bottom. I mean, I'm maybe paraphrasing, you talked about foundations. So all the more, if that were the case, then it really doesn't matter who replaces him. You have to actually go right down to the bottom. So it may be an argument to say, keep him there and then try and ensure that there's reform all the way from grassroots to the top, because that's where the problem rises.
If we were to argue that, we would have to assume that Mr. Ramaphosa, since the time that he became president, has actually tried very hard to right what is wrong, to give the kind of leadership that is necessary, to be decisive on the times and the moments that he should have. He has proved the exact opposite. He is not decisive. He is not serious about corruption. And the other problem, of course, is that the man is being chained with shackles of allegations around himself, with the inability to come forth, to be honest and clear with the people of South Africa. His integrity is in tatters. There are so many allegations hanging like a sword of Damocles over his own head, which makes it impossible for him to then act against the people under him who also are alleged to be corrupt in so many ways. And so you cannot have that kind of person and say, let's take that person and let us help him to or her to do what is right for South Africa. I mean, I really do think that what we have now must come to a complete standstill. We must disrupt this and we must find a way to start over.
Okay, we'll talk about what does disrupt mean. In the meantime, Of course, we've had Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi making a whole lot of statements, allegations a few days ago. As a result of that, we know that the president then spoke to the nation on Sunday night. The statement from your foundation, or Walter and Albertina Sisulu Foundation to be specific, talks about it as bureaucratic theatre. Explain that.
I've seen this before, right? So when you have, instead of governance, instead of decisive action, instead of clear leadership, when you make the creation of commissions of investigation an escape avenue for you to escape your responsibility. We've seen this over and over again. I mean, the other day, who is it that sent out those lists of investigation committees that we've had since Mr. Ramaphosa became the president? We've seen all of this. We have seen investigations, we have seen allegations, we've seen suspicions, we have seen no prosecutions. Nobody has been fired. All he does is he moves people on the chessboard from one position to another, and there is never really the kind of action that would give South Africa's people the confidence that we are tackling this thing at the root. And so that is what we call a pattern of indecisiveness and of weak leadership. We cannot afford that anymore.
What do you think then he should have done, keeping in mind that, besides him having discretionary powers over who to appoint within the cabinet, beyond that, I mean, it's a constitutional democracy. His hands are tied, unlike many other countries. So what should he have done? What could he have done on Sunday evening?
Well, he could have fired Minister Mkhunu to begin with. Well, then you have to take into account that can he really fire Mr. Mkhunu? Because Mr. Mkhunu is from his inner circle. Mr. Ramaphosa has the reputation of not acting against anybody in his inner circle. So he can act against the DA minister, but he cannot act against Minister Simelane, for instance. And so that is a valid point that we have to remember. So I do not know what he would have done. He should have said, I will fire anybody, but it's too late, because you can't let 5 or 6 or 7 people, or the 97 in his top ANC people that the Zondo Commission has fingered without any action. You can't let that slide. You can't sit on a minister and fire a minister who 3 weeks ago, when the when a Pala report came out, the first action that he does is to cover that up, to smear it up, to sweep it under the rug, and to say we now classify this thing as a secret report. You can't then turn, because that means that man is actually protecting you. So can you turn around and fire him? That's what I mean. That when you are caught up in this entanglement of we cover up for one another, we protect one another, then you are in the dilemma that you cannot do anything about this anymore. Okay. You should go, and those people around you should go as well.
Right. So if he goes, I mean, unless you know better than I do, that it's your plea, it's your comment, it's your demand. It's not going to happen right now, is it?
Well, the question is not whether it's going to happen. The question is whether the people are going to demand it. And I picked up today that at that march in KwaZulu-Natal, one of the top demands of those group of people whom I have not spoken to at all is that Mr. Ramaphosa should resign, which means that what the foundation is saying there is not something that we've grabbed out of thin air. It is a conviction that is beginning to grow in the hearts and the minds of more and more and more South Africans. I guarantee you that is a demand that will echo and will find resonance. And so if the people make a demand as clearly as that in a normal democracy, you listen to the people. You do not listen to the 5 or 6 rich families who rule the country and you rule on their behest. You listen to what the people say. And so if more and more people take up that demand, and if more and more people go to the streets, let's see what we then do in this democracy with such a demand coming from the people.
Here's the last thing we need to wrap up onto news time, right? As someone who's been within the ANC before, when you were the Premier of the Western Cape, you certainly understand the ANC culture. Let's just assume that he does resign at some stage or the other, sooner rather than later. Who would replace him as the leader of the ANC and then de facto the leader of the country? That would not just satisfy you, but would actually answer some of the big challenges that you talk about already.
Ashraf, and that is perhaps the tragedy of the African National Congress. Who do you think really in the African National Congress leadership can step in and become the leader of this country? I see nobody. I really do not see anybody. And that is the tragic situation of the ANC. But we are also at a situation now in the country where it is no longer acceptable that the misdeeds of the ANC and the sins of the ANC should become the burden of the people of South Africa. That should be changed. And that's why I, in my own personal capacity now, I'm pleading for creative thinking right now. Find a way to disrupt the rotten system that we have, begin anew, and find ways in which we can begin to put the country on the right path.
Okay.
And there are a number of people in this country with brains and intelligence and dedication enough to help us along that path.
Well, we've heard about the national dialogue. In fact, Alan Busak, you're talking about a disruption. That could be another conversation around dialogue. Much appreciate your time here on the National Pulse. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg Gross.
A look at the headlines. The Transport Minister has dissolved the board of the Road Accident Fund. The leader of the newly formed Mayabuye e-Africa movement, Floyd Shivambu, says joblessness and hopelessness demonstrate that the ANC has not done anything to improve the lives of black South Africans. And Syria's defense ministers announced a ceasefire in the city of Sweida after deadly clashes with tribes there killed about 100 people. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 northbound in Woodmead queuing towards Buccleuch interchange. The N1 southbound in Fairland has a stationary vehicle before Bayers Nodia Drive, and the N1 northbound in Midrand slow moving towards Samrand Road. In KZN, the N3 westbound has a crash reported before the M13 Paradise Valley interchange. The M19 westbound in Westville is slow moving towards Dunkeld Road exit, and Chris Hani Road westbound queuing at the N2 highway. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound has a stationary bus at the N7 Jakes Hadville Drive exit. The R44 southbound in Stellenbosch queuing at Jamestown, and Royal Road outbound in Muizenberg slow moving towards Axminster Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Stay tuned to SAFM. Coming up, this is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, you still have rugby on your mind, I would think, yeah?
Yeah, I'm still looking at those fresh legs that are having a fresh start, which is what Rassie Erasmus, the coach of the Springboks, is cooking up for a Sunday in Mbombela. He's named a fresh front row with a surprise start for Cobus Visser at number 8 in place of his suspended brother Jasper. All three front rowers, Boan Venter, Marnus van der Merwe and Neethling Forshire, will make their debuts, while Siya Kolisi, he returns to the side after recovering from injury. The coach Erasmus says the selections are part of a long-term strategy to deepen the Boks bench strength ahead of the Rugby Championship, and is happy Captain Kolisi is back.
It's always nice to have him back. He's our captain. Although we get guys like Jesse learning a little bit, Damien Delende is vice captain this weekend. So we're growing also the experience of how to lead the team and what you expect from when you're not the leader. Because you felt it now with Jesse, Dukes will feel it now. We're really trying to mix it up.
Now let's go to the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. Gayton McKenzie has tabled 6.3 billion rand budget in Parliament, with over 1.2 billion allocated for sport development. He says access and opportunity must meet talent, and vows to support federations with nearly 100 million rand in funding. McKenzie is also adamant that Formula One will return to South Africa.
I stand here today to tell you that the FIA, the FIFA of motorsport, has given the green light for the upgrading of the track. We've had multiple meetings with the management of F1, with a crucial one happening in the next 2 weeks. To those who say the country can't afford to host the F1, I'm saying the country can't afford not to host the F1.
In the meantime, the Deputy Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Peace Mabe, emphasised that with the challenges that Banyana have faced with their remuneration, fair remuneration is non-negotiable, declaring it's time for decisive action ensuring female athletes receive the pay and support they deserve.
We congratulate the team for reaching the quarter-final of the WAFCON tournament. We must condemn the treatment that the team faced with challenges of payments. We will not tolerate any wage disparities when it comes to our teams. Equal pay is non-negotiable, and we welcome the progress made in renewing the sponsorship for the team with Sasol, and we are inviting more sponsorship to support the team.
On to cricket now, and it is Mitchell Starc who took 6 wickets for 9 runs and Scott Boland claiming a hat-trick as Australia dismissed the West Indies for 27, the second lowest total ever in Test cricket, to win the third Test by 176 runs today. The West Indies missed the lowest score in Test cricket by 1 run, and that was due to a misfield. Now, Starc's first 15 balls delivered the fastest 5-wicket haul in Test history with his 15th 5-Test innings in Test. The left-arm paceman took a wicket with the first ball of the West Indies' second innings and 3 wickets in that first over, a triple wicket maiden. Australia needing only 14.3 overs to rout the home team in the first day night Test at Sabina Park and accomplish a 3-0 series sweep. And that's how the wickets fall. We'll have more sport.
I tell you what, I followed that result on Twitter last night, right? And was amazed. But here's the thing. I don't know what they had. I think they only had to get about 170, 180 to win the match, the West Indies. I mean, it was a very low-scoring game, which means it probably was not the best of wickets. But having said that, Mitchell, 2 things. Starc was devastating. I think a guy called Boland took a hat-trick as well. And what it does say about, come on, this is the West Indies, one of the greatest cricket nations on earth. And they've been blown away. I mean, sure, man.
What is
heartbreaking, seriously.
Brian Lara, Sir Vivian Richards, what are they all thinking right now? They're probably scrambling as we speak. But yeah, that's the mighty West Indies. They've been scrambled there. Hopefully they'll look to rebuild and restore some pride. Speaking of pride, we've got sport with Michael Abramson coming up here on SAFM.
SAFM. The Morning Brief.
Is there room for more enforcement? Because you say 3 of these 4 boys were in illegal initiation schools.
Yes, part of the things that we think they are going to help us is to make sure that we engage with the police services and make sure that people who are engaged or involved in these illegal schools, at least they face the mighty law. Because we find that there is a lot of reckless among our communities. And if the police service is not helping us, this strategy is going to continue.
That's Thandegile Sabisa, the Deputy Executive Mayor of the OR Tambo District Municipality.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief.
Kathy Mohlahlana on SAFM.
In light of what was said by General Mkhwanazi and the fact that Mr. Matlala's profile was now in the public space or raised because of those allegations, then it was also in his interest for him to be moved to CMAX prison.
And we were asked, why is this inmate at CMAX? The National Commission then provided a response that no, this offender had to be moved there because we confiscated a mobile phone. We never issued a statement to that effect.
And the fact that you are unable to provide an answer as to whether this happened before or after the briefing by General Mkhwanazi in and of itself will raise questions.
It's not a matter of being unable, but we are not going to come on air and then give detail in terms of security operations.
Singabako Ngumalo.
If you're ready to talk, I'm here to listen and nothing is off the agenda.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
And of course, the SAFM Market Update hosted, as always, by, most of the days anyway, by Jimmy Moyaha. Good to connect with you, Jimmy. You've got, what's moving your markets today?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. It's certainly quite an interesting day on the markets front. We got inflation numbers out of the United States that we'll dig into when we look at markets a little later on. But alongside all of that as well, we're going to be taking a look at some developments out of the Transnet stable. The team at Standard & Poor have come out with a ratings, or at least a view on Transnet that suggests that they are looking at Transnet between now and 2030 policy and some of the objectives that the parastatal has in place to achieve profitability, and they seem to have some differing opinions there with some of the sentiments that we've been hearing from the Transnet guys. So we're going to speak to Standard & Poor's S&P Global Ratings around their rating of Transnet and how they arrived at some of these assumptions, and get a better sense of how this global ratings agency is viewing Transnet. I think it's quite important to be able to look at it from an outsider's perspective, because when companies like Transnet then go into the capital markets to raise debt, it is the ratings that are provided by Standard & Poor and the like that influence how much the financing is for those debts that they look to raise. So we're looking forward to that conversation with the team at Standard & Poor. We've also got a conversation around the creditors at Optimum Coal Mine. For those that don't remember, this coal mine has been around for quite some time. It was at some point in the ownership of the Gupta family, and then after that was bought out by Liberty. It's changed hands in terms of ownership a couple of times, and along the way the creditors of Optimum have been awarded some credits or have been awarded some monies in the form of court orders, but it seems as though some of them still haven't been paid at this stage, some 7 years later. So we're going to take a look at that and see what we make of it. Then we've got a conversation with the team at Nedbank around the agricultural space as part of just what we're continuing to look at around the impact of global tariffs and how they're looking at the agricultural businesses that they service as a bank. And then we've got a conversation around TV licenses. The Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies has put out a proposal for more sustainable funding models for the South African Broadcasting Corporation, and we're going to take a look at that and see what we make of it and see how we can best get through that conversation. And then we're going to wrap up the show with an agri feature. This week we're taking a look at the red meat market. Beef prices have finally started to stabilize in South Africa, but at the same time global goat prices seem to be on the rise. We're going to take a look at that with the team at the Red Meat Producers Organization and try and make sense of that. But before we get to that, a sense of how the markets have been moving throughout the day. It's been a mixed bag of performances from the equity side of things, with Asian markets by and large in the green with the exception of Shanghai. The biggest gain in Asian markets, the Hang Seng up 1.4%, the Nikkei a close third, around 0.5%, the ASX in Sydney 0.7% there. European markets all in the red, the FTSE down almost 2/3%, the DAX down 1/3%, and the CAC 40 in France down 0.4%. US markets, yes, Nasdaq up about 0.6%, and the S&P marginally flat to marginally in the red. The Dow Jones down about 0.65%. We're going to take a look at that, of course, when we look at the inflation print from the US's perspective. And then local markets, the resources were down 0.1%, but industrials were up 0.5% and financials up 0.2%. And as a result of that, the all share up 0.25% and the top 40 almost 1/3% to the green. If we look at the rand against the major currencies, 17 Rand 89 against the US dollar, 23 Rand 96 against the British pound, and 20 Rand and 77 cents against the euro. 1 Australian dollar, 11 Rand 65. 1 Bitcoin, 116,000 US dollars a Bitcoin, or 2.08 million Rand. A quick look at commodities before we go. Oil prices holding ever so steady at the moment, around $69 a barrel. The gold price, $3,340 a fine ounce. Platinum and palladium still pretty much where they were yesterday. 1,415 in the case of platinum, 1,250 in the case of palladium. So quite a bit to dig into when we come back a little later on. But of course, that is after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. You enjoy your show, and then 7 to 8, Michael Abramson with sport. There's lots more to come here on SAFM all throughout the day. I would say 24/7, isn't it? Right, but what's important is we're going to be talking to you because here, I know you have a view, right? So, for example, here's one. Wow, we are getting moral lessons from Alan Busak. Is he not the same one who served time for fraud? Okay, join me. This is the National Pulse.
Conversations that you connect with and react to. SAFM.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Okay, we got calls, we got WhatsApp, WhatsApp voice notes, text messages, we got tweets as well. We'll go through all of those as soon as we can. Let's see. In fact, here's one around the issues in Mpumalanga.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and SAFM listeners. I'm Svido in Guatemala. I like the decisiveness of the Mpumalanga Premier. We need such leaders in our government. I hope other leaders from elsewhere in our government could learn something from him. Thank you.
Okay, got that. Decisive leadership. Here's another in the same issue.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ashraf. Dr. Ashraf, clearly what is happening there in Mpumalanga, something doesn't add up. Somebody has been fired. Clearly there's a vacant. Somebody has been replaced by somebody. That somebody, there is a vacant where he left. So there should be a vacant for somebody new, not already in the system.
Well, I don't know. You know, premiers of provinces and leaders of the country, that's their discretion. And it's not always that they have somebody from the outside, do they?
Ashraf, good afternoon. It's Clinton here. Ashraf, I heard this morning on the radio there is 15 municipalities in Limpopo who is technically bankrupt. Ashraf, the ANC-led corrupt government shouldn't be anywhere near any power in 2029. The ANC shouldn't get any snuff of power in 2029. They've got nothing more to offer this beautiful country of ours. And yes, Ashraf, it looks like I don't know where will it all end, Ashraf? Oh, Ashraf, oh.
And I tell you what, there's some interesting political formations going on. But here's the question I asked Alan Busak. Okay, you want Ramaphosa to resign, which he said yes. Who's going to replace him within the ANC and effectively the leader of the country? Like, I don't know. That's the problem. Okay. JJ in Polokwane, go for it.
Ashraf, good evening.
Good evening.
I think you have just made a remark about it, and I wanted to start there.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Alan Busak should have said, if he wants us to be convinced, he should have said, people must look at me, I have repented because I was like this and like this, so I'm no longer corrupt. Then he speaks about all those things. Then we're going to accept what he's saying. But let me say this. Many of the people are saying what the president didn't say. The president didn't put Senzo Mchunu on a special leave. He didn't. He has put him on the leave of absence. And the leave of absence, whether you take an Oxford dictionary or a Harvard dictionary, it's a leave where you are not receiving any remuneration. The difference is, when he is on the leave of absence, what will happen? He will go back to his position in the parliament, not in the ministry. That's why immediately he put him on leave of absence. He also pronounced that the position will be filled by Professor Firoz. He said that.
Okay.
So we mustn't confuse leave of absence with special leave, because he never spoke of special leave.
Okay. JJ?
And Alan Busak must be rest assured he is not repented. He should have told us.
Got that, JJ in Polokwane. I'll tell you what. Yo, man, that is why I think somebody said earlier on, we don't need, I'm not saying don't have a national dialogue, but it's like we don't need it. Just listen to the show. The responses we get, wow.
Ask this guy to answer the question that you are asking him. Who does he think is going to be the president who is going to do everything that they need?
Well, you heard, he can't answer that. That's the problem, he said.
Ashraf Yalezo here in Kumbu. Alan Busak is the last person who can come on the radio and come and criticize Cyril Ramaphosa. That man was a premier in the Western Cape, and he was a leader of fraud and corruption. He even served time. Now, because he's bitter, because the ANC didn't protect him when he was arrested, now he comes and criticizes Comrade Ramaphosa.
Well, there we are. That's another take on Alan Busak in the dock now. This is the National Pulse.
Call us on 086 000 2032.
Hi, I'm Gabriela Salgado, Banyana Banyana player. Any song from Chris Brown could literally put me in the mood and make sure that I'm good to go. My favorite motivational quote, trust the process, but know that God is with you, you will always succeed. Between being a pilot and driving a bus, definitely a pilot to see the world and to take people along with me. South Africa, tune in to SABC Sports as we take on the Giants in the WAFCON. We are the champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the Soundtrack of Your Life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You are listening to SAFM Radio this Mandela Month.
It is in your hands now.
Talking about being in your hands, the World Cup rugby trophy is in our hands, isn't it? That's after the Boks won the last 2 World Cups. But just so that you know, SABC Sports has been bringing you the Chasing the Sun documentary series. It's a 5-part series that reflects that magical World Cup glory of the 2019 Springbok World Cup winning team, right? So part 1 already done. Part 2 happens this coming Sunday, and then every Sunday thereafter, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. And by the way, you don't have to just watch it on TV. You can also stream it if you download the SABC Plus app, right? So then stream it anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. Don't miss Chasing the Sun this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. Be there when history shines.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. SAFM.
I'll tell you one thing we must say, we cannot underestimate the level of knowledge of all the SAFM callers. I think some of the analysts need to go to you guys because you have a memory like they don't have, right? Okay, callers, more. Ali in Mabato. Hello, Ali. Ali, hi. Oh, Ali's gone. We'll get you back maybe. Glenn in Bedford View. Go for it, Glenn.
Asaf, my friend, good afternoon.
Yeah, very good indeed. Thank you. What's your point?
Yes, I think the president has missed a very golden opportunity here to actually show leadership. Because if you recall very well, during COVID, Zweli Mkhize was merely also accused of being involved in some corruption, and he was removed from his post as the minister. So what is so special about Senzo Mchunu that he must form a commission of inquiry just to please one man, just because this man supported him during presidency for the ANC? This is actually not right.
But do you think it's only about him, or is it because of the series of allegations made by Mkonazi, which included, compromises, talking about some, I'm using the word mafia, some whole grouping from Gauteng, a whole conspiracy, not just conspiracy, a whole consortium of people coming together. Isn't it about saying effectively that the entire system is rotten, and that's why it would need an inquiry?
The problem, my friend, is that our very own president, the Pala thing has not been answered properly. Therefore, you can't have a man like that deciding for the country. I think the country must stand upside down. Ramaphosa must resign once and for all. He has failed dismally to perform his duties as the number one.
Got that. So you would agree with Alan Busak. Thanks for that, Glenn in Bedford View. Here's another one on Alan Busak.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Dr. Busak, this is one man I don't respect very much. He's a man who once said Jacob Zuma was the best president. He forgot about the corruption that what was happening during Zuma's time about the Guptas. Now, the corruption that was done by Zuma and the corruption that is happening here during Ramaphosa What is the difference? Because they're both corruption on both sides. But with this one, he must resign. That one, he was the best president. I don't take him serious. I thank you.
Okay, there we are. That's what I said when you say SAFM callers. They got a memory, man. And you guys make us hear it. Absolutely. What about Mbalula?
Afternoon, Ashraf. Mbalula speaks as if ANC is still in power. He's forgetting it's GNU. It's not ANC. The president is not for ANC. It's for GNU government. They are not in power. You must know that. If it was still ANC, Mchunu was going nowhere. Was not going to be suspended or whatever leave they called it. Remember from Brixton.
There we are. Thanks for that, Norman. So Mchunu was going nowhere if there was no ANC. If they were still in charge. Okay. Are they still in charge?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Interesting listening to you talk to all these people about Cyril and what his actions should have been. But I just want to ask you a question. What does BBEE stand for? Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment. So if it's broad-based, please tell me why Cyril and half his cronies in the ANC and his inner circle have shareholding in all these BEE companies like Bidvest and everything like that, and why Sipu down the street in the community doesn't have any shareholding. Mark from Cape Town.
Well, Mark, I think you know the answer, and I've said so often, what we do have is narrow-based economic empowerment, narrow-based black economic empowerment. I think many people now agree that, if shareholders in companies had received some shares, and that's great, but there's been hand-picked select groups of people who've made huge money. It's a huge flaw in the system. It's not broad-based. I think we know that. True.
Hi, Ashraf. I heard yesterday something in the news about a 72-year-old man who was abducted for initiation. They circumcised him apparently or something like that. And I don't know if he had to go to hospital. I'm not sure if the story is true or anything. If you could talk about that.
Sure. I may have missed it. But it's rather painful just to think about it. If we know more, I'll let you know. But the show is almost over. Maybe tomorrow. Here's another.
Hi, Ashraf. Someone balance me quickly on this one. What are the roles of deputy police ministers? If the president chose to get a professor of law to act as a police minister, so what are the roles of the deputy ministers? Are they just getting their money there every month, doing nothing?
Well, I mean, there's been a broader conversation to say, do we actually need deputy ministers? Like 30, 40, am I right? In terms of the rules, by the way, had a conversation yesterday. Check out the podcast around that, just on the legal aspects of ministers, deputy ministers, and what's allowed and what's not allowed. I can't say more because there's just not enough time. But all I can tell you, thank you so much for listening into the show. We'll do it again tomorrow. Do catch the podcast. They're available on the website, safm.coza, and we also tweet it out and then listen to it. And I think many of them need to be shared. You need to share it amongst your friends and your family groups, your own family groups, and use that as the basis of further conversation because you heard it first here on the National Pulse on SAFM. Thanks for listening. We'll do it again tomorrow, 3 to 6, the National Pulse. Here's Greg with the news at 6.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Minister dissolves Road Accident Fund Board and Police's Masemola calls for cooperation over Commission of Inquiry. Good evening. The Transport Minister, Barbara Creesy's dissolved the board of the Road Accident Fund due to governance and operational challenges. She says these challenges have significantly impacted the fund's ability to fulfill its mandate and include costly litigation over accounting standards, frequent default judgments and deep divisions within the board, among others. The Transport Department's Colin Msibi.
Minister Creasy has reiterated the department's commitment to continue to pursue all necessary measures to restore